The Fanatic, Philadelphia. The real and inside story on the Birds as they get ready for the NFL Wild Card. The John Kincade Show, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
331 days. 331 days. You woke up 331 days ago, and the Eagles were in the Super Bowl. And you wake up today, and this Eagles team look like it's careening into a potential, not only disastrous finish, but potentially a rebuild. That's how bad things can go in the NFL in a matter of 331 days. I was thinking of 331 days. I thought of it selfishly myself with what I did in the last 331 days, which was shocking. But I look at the Eagles. And I wrote a piece today for the website. I said, how is this happening? How is this team falling apart? And I think the number one thing I'd put my fingerprints on is roster construction. That this team went into the year with some horrendous choices about doubling down on age, which was never their strategy. Never, ever their organizational mentality. And they just doubled down on being older. We're going to run it back one more time. I hate that term. The oldest starting cornerback tandem in the league, and we've seen how that works out. And there was a reason you don't do that. Now they learned again why you don't do that. And the middle of their defense exploited all season long. A head coach without a plan. If I hear one more time from Nick Sirianni about, we're going to get this better. We're going to get this. And now he's getting feisty. Now he's getting upset. Now he's getting a little profane. I mean, honestly, to me, that appears more desperate because it's not genuine. Because he comes out usually with the, as Pat will say, fortune cookies, like with Jalen Hurts, or bumper sticker slogans where it is for Nick Sirianni. The poor coordinator hires, flat out. If you're still going to die on the hill of Brian Johnson or anybody else, I can't even engage on it anymore because it is horrendous. A quarterback that shows no urgency in message, performance, or in-game. Yesterday, and I just kept taking note from like the midway through the first quarter on, was I seeing him grab an iPad? Was I seeing anyone on the sideline talk to him? It's ridiculous. Because if you tell me, well, that's what Jalen's always done. Well, when you're failing and things are falling apart, you do things differently. You change things up. No urgency, staring off into space, not talking to anybody. Yeah, that's great. When you're 10-1 and you're doing that, it can be sort of cute. But when you start falling apart, you got to make adjustments. No adjustments being made. Veterans that appear completely disinterested. If I watched Jason Kelce wander on that sideline, who I absolutely love his whole career, and I watch him just wander the sidelines and just like aimlessly, they kept showing him. Just aimlessly walking around. When the offensive line yesterday, your veteran offensive line, your starting offensive line, got absolutely dominated and eaten alive by a weak-ass Giants defensive front. And an NFC that appears to be on the rise. There's teams that are on the rise in the NFC. And you can just take a few, being like Green Bay, one of those teams. Chicago being one of those teams. They got a ton of draft capital. There's a lot of teams that are getting better in the NFC. And right now, you have to decide, where are we heading? Right now, Nick Sirianni is your pilot. You're heading into that mountain in the Andes, and he is telling you, just stay in your seats. Everything's fine. Well, you know what? Everything's not fine. It is a Eagles team heading to a playoff game next Monday night, and this city appears as disinterested and as disheartened as the players looked on the sideline yesterday. That's on the head coach. That's on the management of this team. That this crew that you assembled is letting themselves and the city down. Bob, a Monday, 331 days.
Yeah,
I never could have seen it.
I'm so day. I can't remember back that far. 331 days, nah.
You don't remember Super Bowl Sunday?
Kind of, sort of. I can go back to 43 days ago, and that's when Jalen Hurts got on the field and his team was down in overtime, and he had to lead them to a touchdown against the Buffalo Bills in order to win a game. And he went 75 yards in 9 plays, and they showed all sorts of everything on that drive, from Hurts runs to good passes to different people, good runs from the running back, all of those things. And they win the game, and we came in and said, damn, that was the first time they needed a touchdown at the end of the game to win. Jalen Hurts led them to it. Maybe this is the turning point. 43 days ago, they were 10-1. 43 days ago. I can almost remember that.
Yes.
But it's just horrendous, and it's horrendous every which way. The coaching, the playing, the decision-making. It's funny, when we were talking about what we were doing today, and we wrote it out, Pat and I came up with one of the problems with this team, and it's the exact same. We'll get to that later, but it was even before the game started, and this is the second week in a row. Like, this organization is so flawed right now, and all it took was the first play of the game yesterday. First play of the game, Tyrod Taylor rolls out, and he's looking and he's smiling. Why? Because the best pass rusher on the Philadelphia Eagles for the last 2 years, Hassan Reddick, lined up on the left side of the defensive line, falls back into coverage. So Tyrod Taylor rolls over that way, smiles, and says, oh, really? You're going to try to cover somebody? What do I do? Do I throw in front of you or do I throw behind you? Because they're both open. So he just runs a little more, and Reddick has to make a decision. He covers one, they throw to the other, boom, 18 yards, first play of the game. What in the holy hell are you doing? Why are you having the one thing, the best thing that you have on defense, on a defense that has no good things, but the one good thing that you can rely on, Hassan Reddick trying to get to a quarterback, and you drop him out and say, yeah, just stand here, and yeah, we know you don't know how to cover because nobody's ever asked you to do that, but just stand there and act like you're going to cover somebody. It's ridiculous. This coaching staff is horrible, horrendous, terrible, and we'll get deeper into that. And the one thing you put out on Twitter, and I didn't know you did put it on Twitter last night when I made a note of it. Yeah, I'm going to question effort.
And I hate, and you're very much like me with that. I hated that because I've gotten corrected by athletes before who I've known that have said to me, John, the one thing you shouldn't be saying is effort. Because there's a lot of effort. Sometimes it's just poor execution. Yesterday, that was a disinterested bunch that rolled into MetLife.
I saw a quarterback scramble and two defensive tackles who were about 3, maybe 5 yards behind the play. Okay, speed for speed, they're not going to catch up on a straight line race. But here's a quarterback that's scrambling and doing moves. Hustle and try to go get him. These guys, literally 2 of them, jogging.
Trotted, yes.
Yeah, jogging. And somebody else will get it. This is horrible. It's absolutely horrible.
I'm floored that this is happening because I really kept thinking that this was going to get better. And instead, it's gotten worse. I think the Arizona and the Giants games are the 2 worst examples of what we've seen. The ass beating by San Francisco may just be because the San Francisco 49ers are that good and are that talented, and this is their year. Much like Pat would say last year, anybody can come get it. The 49ers are just steamrolling a lot of opponents. They did it to Dallas. They did it to the Eagles. They just might be that good. But to lose like you did to Arizona and the Giants is just freaking unacceptable. And it's unacceptable.
Here's what else bothered me. So we all know, the stupid-ass fans that we all know that Wink Martindale loves to blitz, right?
Yes, he does.
That's his calling card. He has nothing to play for. Does Jalen Hurts know how to call blitz coverage? Or is it Jeff Stoutland that's not getting it done? Or this vaunted offensive line? Because the Giants, whenever they wanted, blitzed and got pressure and made Jalen Hurts either throw it away or do the rollout where he throws it away because nobody's open. Receivers don't know how to sit down on routes, be hot receivers when the quarterback's getting rushed. Nobody's looking back to see what's going on. Nah, let me run my 18-yard out. Meanwhile, Jalen Hurts has 2 guys coming after him. Oh, really? He threw it away already? Okay. Who's in charge here? And Jalen Hurts, terrible. He's just terrible anymore. And like, the whole thing is just dog-ass ugly. And here's another one, John, real quick. And I'm going to go off on the coaches later, too, but I'm going to do it a little bit now. You have a play where you throw the ball to A.J. Brown early, 3-0 game, throw it to him early, he catches it, fumbles, goes down, he gets hurt. So now you're missing Devontae Smith. Now you're missing also A.J. Brown. So you have Julio Jones and Watkins in there. What do you do the next 6 plays? against the 29th ranked rushing defense in a 3-0 game.
Watkins.
You
it
pass
seemed like
5
that.
out of 6 times. Yeah. What in the hell are you doing?
And
You're playing right into what Wink Martindale wants to do, which is blitz. If they do blitz, why not hand the ball off and run it up the gut? Because that's how you beat a blitz. Like, what are you doing?
Even 10-0, they approached that game yesterday as if they were down 21-0.
Yeah.
They're down 10-0, and they're acting like the building's on fire. We got to throw it every down. There was one possession, they went every pass play to Quez Watkins. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? You know, as a coaching staff, you didn't even think this guy was good enough to be on the field. You've got running backs. Let them run the freaking football. But again, they didn't. And, Pat, to me, it's the Giants and the Arizona games are the worst examples of what this team has become. It's not losing to the 49ers and the Cowboys. It's losing these last 2 weeks. It appears to be getting worse, not better.
Yeah, unfortunately it does. Yeah, but the good news is guys like A.J. Brown, he spoke to the media, and that's the turning point of the season right there.
Yeah, it was. Wasn't
like,
it?
it's turning point, and they're going to get it right, and they had a couple
But they're going to win next week.
Yeah, they had some team-only meetings. They did, painting with a twist. So, like, guys, we're fine. Like, all's forgiven. And
I think they went to an escape room, Pat. I don't think they went to the painting.
And that was probably the issue, is they went to an escape room, and I feel like I'm in an escape room right now. I can't escape this damn season and this hard play calling, horrible coaching.
Oh.
It's like, everything's fine on Wednesday because they say all the right things, right? I mean, vibes are great, and we haven't given up and all that crap. And then the game actually gets played. The one thing that you can point to and go, okay, maybe there was some truth in what they said Wednesday and Thursday. And then the game gets played, and they get their teeth kicked in by a horrible Giants team. After the game, it's much of the same. We get more of the main thing's the main thing and back to the standard.
Yeah.
At what point is this team and this quarterback and this coaching staff going to realize that this is the standard? They have set it. There is no better standard. They set the standard. Crappy play and head-scratching play calling is now the standard. Congrats.
It's so deep with all this. God, John, I'm sorry.
I want to let you hear Nick Sirianni afterwards. And Nick Sirianni does the Kobe Bryant strategy finally, and it seems to me like he's just run out of ways to explain crappy efforts. Listen.
The locker room, everyone looked at each other and said, hey, everything we got this week, and let's go. We're all, no, we're going to get rid of this game. We're going to get rid of this last month, and it wasn't too long ago that we beat Tampa up there, and let's go right now. And, you don't got to win all games at once. You just got to play, you got to win each day, and that's what we're about to go do.
I'm speechless.
Yeah,
I'm speechless.
And Tampa's down there.
Yeah, geographically. Yeah. I can't understand it. The mentality of, we're just brushing this off. This day, we're just moving on to the next game. You can't when it's a culmination of game after game after game where your team is playing like garbage. Stop with we're just moving on to the next one. And I hate we're all 0-0. We're all 0-0 right now. Are you freaking kidding me? Seriously? Are you kidding me with that? We're all 0-0. So in other words, Nick Sirianni's telling you the Eagles are exactly the same as the 49ers, exactly the same as the Cowboys, exactly the same as the Ravens. Coach, you're absolutely not. You're not. 0-0 doesn't mean the same for every single team. And then the Eagles play Monday night against the Buccaneers. They get the Monday night game.
When you have so many guys in the locker room saying so many different things, Josh Sweat is just pretty much like, I don't know what the hell's going on here. Kelsey's trying to hold it in and trying to be the team guy and saying, we still all believe in Nick Sirianni. But you still have offensive plays where Julio Jones yesterday's looking at the sideline with his arms outstretched like, what are we doing? I don't even know what the play is. Putting guys in better position. Oh, it took all of one play for you not to do that correctly because you dropped Hassan Reddick back into coverage and he had no idea where to go because he doesn't play that position. It's just a myriad of what in the holy hell are you doing? And when you have so many guys in that locker room saying so many different things, look, what people say and all that, I've said all the time, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, whatever. But when they're as disjointed in their conversation as they are out on the field playing the game, there's something bad going on. And my full blame yesterday goes on the head coaches.
Yeah, I think it's the head coach.
But the players sucked also.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
But my God, there was and Jalen Hurts doesn't know how to pick up a blitz anymore, or Kelsey at center isn't calling out the right blocking schemes. What's going on here?
It's the Eagles' offensive line getting dominated yesterday the starting offensive line dominated, to me, was the biggest indictment. Because, again, I asked last Monday, where are the veteran leaders in the locker room? Where are you? Where's your voice? Where's your leadership? Where's your guidance? More importantly, now I'm asking, where the hell was your performance? Because that was terrible yesterday. Absolutely terrible. Nobody gets dominated by the Giants' defensive line like that. Nobody. And the supposed Pro Bowl-laden Eagles offensive line gets pushed around like that. It's terrible. Nick Sirianni, though, believes he's going to tell you something. He's going to tell you when we return that there's no reason to be concerned because everybody's 0-0. And he has every belief that this is going to happen. We'll tell you what this is. Plus, I'm sure you're going to want to get in with us. 610-632-0975. I want to hear about where you're at this morning. And honestly, do you feel worse now than you felt after the San Francisco whooping? After the Dallas beatdown? Because I think if this isn't rock bottom, I don't even want to know what we'll be talking about next Tuesday morning. It's the John Kincade Show here on 97.5, The Fanatic. The college football
Line. Every angle on the Eagles is here all week as they prepare for the NFL Wild Card. This is the John Kincade Show. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Bradford White Water Heaters bring you the 6 o'clock hour, the John Kincade Show, and Bradford White is always here for the pro. I don't think that was much pro yesterday. I think it was much more amateur. What we saw there at MetLife Stadium. For the fans who made the trip up there, God bless you for cheering when the Eagles finally scored. That we heard you were there, because that was an absolute disgrace. We got a lot of people that want to chime in with us at 610-632-0975. I want you to hear from Nick Sirianni. He believes that, look, everybody's 0-0. So in other words, in Nick Sirianni's mind, the Eagles are just as good as Dallas, San Francisco, and everybody else. They got just as good a chance to win because everybody's 0-0, as if the entire regular season didn't matter. Or where you play your playoff games doesn't matter. It's so stupid to me, but relax. He had this message for you after the game.
Because you believe in the guys in that locker room, you believe in the coaches, you believe in the players, and, we got a lot of good players that I know will give everything they got. We got a lot of players that know what it takes to get to the top. We got a lot of guys in that locker room who know how to win playoff games. We got a lot of coaches who know how to win playoff games, and that's what makes you confident.
Do you believe in the coaching staff? Do you believe, honestly, right now, do you believe in the players in that locker room? That they're committed to winning? That they're going to do everything that it takes to absolutely win? If you are, I'm going to say to you, I don't know what you're watching, because there's no reason that Nick Sirianni's feel good. Yeah, we got guys, we got coaches who know what it takes to get over the top and win it. Who are they? Yeah. Who are those? Who are the coaches? I want to know names. Who are they? Brian Johnson? What the freak are you talking about? I mean, seriously now. I don't know what they're talking about at this point.
Well, it's the pilot of the plane when there's really bad turbulence. He's not going to be saying, oh, my God, this is horrible. Cover your head. They're going to say, look, we're going to try to go higher or lower and get out of this and fix it. No, I mean, that's just the way it is. I understand what he's saying. I don't give a crap what he's saying because we know he's BSing. I mean, there's no question about it that they're all questioning themselves. But as you know, John and Pat, from watching games with me when we've watched games together, I sit back and take it in. Rarely does a game exude emotion from me to say there was one play yesterday. One play yesterday out loud that I said, oh, my God, what is this? And my wife will tell you that it's exactly what I said. I'll give you the circumstance, okay? And see if you can guess what the play was. Eagles are down 3-0. They have the ball on their own 23-yard line. It's 3rd and 1. First quarter, towards the end of the first quarter, 3rd and 1. And a penalty happens on the Giants. Why did I scream out loud?
That nobody in their mind attacked the Giants. It was first of all, it was helmet to helmet.
Are you kidding me?
On the tush push, it was helmet to helmet contact.
Yeah,
and he led with the helmet.
Hit him on the side of the head.
And that was designed. By the way, that was designed.
Kenny Gainwell just looks.
And they just look at him.
I'm not asking 180-pound Kenny Gainwell but do something. Protect your quarterback. Act like you're a team. I swear to God, I said to my wife, this team is done. They're done. They don't stick up for each other. If you're 10-1 and playing really good football and somebody touches your quarterback like that, you're taking turns grabbing that linebacker and shoving him to the ground. And you're taking a 15-yard penalty to protect your quarterback because that's what you do. That's what teammates are. Man, I would love to have been in the locker room and asked one of the offensive linemen and be like, hey, did you see the play where the linebacker hit Hurts in the helmet?
Why does it?
Why no retribution?
What does it tell you about Jalen Hurts? Because
I don't want to read too much into it.
Nobody came to his defense. Nobody came to his defense. I don't understand.
I'm not going there that it's a personal thing that it was Jalen Hurts. What I'm saying is I think this is a team that is just so down right now and so, I don't want to say not caring, but just so lethargic that it was like, oh, yeah, I should protect him. I don't think it has anything to do with Jalen Hurts personally. I really don't. I think it's just a team that's like, I don't feel like getting in a fight right now.
What about Kelsey? Lane Johnson.
I agree.
Jordan Mailata. Where the hell was that offensive line? It's like they didn't stand up for their quarterback.
Yeah, like Mailata does it all the time. He always protects them.
And he gets into things, yes.
Maybe he didn't see it or whatever. But if I'm an offensive lineman, I hear my running back go, yo, that was to the head. you get up out of your crouch. Who hit him in the head? And you find him.
Right.
And I'm not playing Mr. Tough Guy here. I'm really not. That's good team football. That's good team sports. Like, I've told you many times, I was like the smallest guy on my basketball team with the guys that I still hang out with. They would kill if somebody hit me wrong. Like, I'm not kidding you, John. I couldn't look up quick enough before I know they would be jumping on somebody and beating them. Like, that's what you do. And for this team that used to do it, that used to be such a, we're here for each other and all that.
One unit, yeah.
I screamed out loud. I said, I think this team's done. And if you look at it, if we were to replay it, guys were kind of standing there with their arms at their side looking like, I don't know what to do. What am I supposed to do? I think they're on the field right now with play, with reaction, with all that, in kind of a I don't know what to do out here stage anymore.
All right, let's see what Eric has to say. Eric, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. Your thoughts this morning on how to turn this thing around, Eric?
All right. Well, first of all, this has just been painful, obviously, for everybody. I can't dismiss Sirianni. I know there's talk about him on the hot seat, this and that. I mean, the last 3 years, we're a playoff team, Super Bowl last year. I'm not going to dismiss that over this, even though it's a total breakdown of the team. But what I need to happen this week, and the only thing I'm looking for is, in his press conference this week, he needs to come out. He is supposed the head coach, the leader of this team. He needs to take the reins and be the captain, go down with the ship if it's going down, and state to the people that he will be taking over play calling on the offensive side this week.
Okay, here's
That
the thing.
needs to
Here's the
happen.
thing I ask you. You
What's
said
that?
you said a suspicious word there. You said
What's that?
he's supposed to be the leader of this team. You question
Correct.
it. You question
I
it.
do.
I do too.
I do.
So, but you say he shouldn't be. His job shouldn't be in question.
His job shouldn't be in question.
Why?
Because I think there's a lot of issues on the team that are going into play with this that is beyond the head coach. I understand, he's the leader, everything like that, but between how much can he take over the defense too? I mean, that's asking a lot of a coach. He's not Bill Belichick out there that's going to take full reins of everything. I mean, his what he's done the last 3 years to get us to this point, everything like that, I'm not going to dismiss over a breakdown this year. I mean, if they came back out next year and looked like shit halfway through the season.
There we go. Can't do that. Can't say that word.
I think he's the same guy that did it last week.
Really?
It doesn't mean it. It just comes out. There's so much passion.
And it totally is. It's just passion. But I think it's the same guy that accidentally let a curse word slip last week.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a bad curse word either, but
it was just
you can't do it.
they like a poop.
I don't understand. Pat, I can't get over the fact, though, that someone could say to me, by the way, this is the biggest collapse that has ever happened in the history of the NFL with a team that got off to a 10-1 start. Worst collapse ever. And he says, well, I can't call Sirianni's job into question. How can you not even open your...
I think you kind of have to.
You have to. You have to. I'm not saying you say pitchforks and everything, go down to NovaCare and say, this guy needs to go. But
Well, if you do, he'll buy you a coffee.
But I think the discussion has to come. Yeah, and I wonder if we're going to have people today. Let's get our pom-poms out and go cheer for the Eagles as they drive into practice because we want to show them that we love them instead of criticizing them. They don't care about that. They don't care about that. It means nothing. But, Pat, you have to have that discussion, right? At least have the discussion.
I'm at the point where if he doesn't win another playoff game, I'm done. Look, I know what the caller's right. Like, you can't ignore what happened last season, but he has failed to stop this snowball effect.
It's worse.
And it's worse, and it's getting worse. And you're not going to have a season every single year where you start out 10-1. You're going to have adversity. But the good leaders know how to stop it before it gets to this point. And Nick Sirianni has shown me that he has no plan and no idea how to stop a moving train from just driving right off the tracks. So because of that, if they don't win a playoff game, I'm done. I mean, they would have lost 5 of their last 5 games. They would have finished the season 0-5 had it not been for the fact that Tommy DeVito started half that football game. And I fully believe that.
After watching Tyrod Taylor yesterday,
if he starts all 4 games, or if he all 4 quarters, the Eagles probably lose that game. So for Nick Sirianni to not have any clue on how to stop this thing, to me, that it's like if I'm an owner, I go, look, man, I know that what you did last season, all that, but when push came to shove, you didn't know how to stop this.
Pat, everybody's 0-0. What are you talking about?
There's
there's a switch, and Nick Sirianni thinks they can flip a switch. He believes they have one.
Yeah, I don't. But we'll see. I mean, I hope I'm wrong.
You know, you have a Giants team also that gave up the second most sacks in the history of the NFL.
None, right?
And you get 2 for 5 yards yesterday. Like, did you gimmick against that? Did you try to set something up for that? No. What you did on the first play of the game against a team that's given up the most sacks in the NFL this year, on the first play of the game, your best pass rusher, you drop back into coverage. Like, it has to be that simple, doesn't it? Doesn't it have to be so simple as to say, hey, they give up a lot of sacks. Let's get to the quarterback with our best guys that rush the passer.
I think it seems very smart.
I don't know. You lose both of your top wide receivers against a team that's 29th in the NFL against rushing. How about if we run the ball after A.J. Brown gets hurt? I don't see them going after deficiencies on the other team ever.
I knew that you and Pat were both going to – Pat, I didn't hear you on the very first play with them dropping Hassan Reddick into coverage. I was just waiting because I thought that would be something right atop your list too. The very first play of the game, it's as if they said "F you" to the fans. We know better than you.
Kind of just threw my hands up and said, all right.
Oh,
At least you learned.
You know, and
you
that's,
learned your lesson.
To me, that was a coaching thing, and then that had my eye on the coaches all day long. But then you have a quarterback in Tyrod Taylor running planned rollouts to the left-hand side, and you have 2 guys running curls, one high, one low, and you're reading the safety, and you're like, oh, the high guy's open because Reed Blankenship isn't fast enough to get over and get to this guy. And boom, you take it down to the 2-yard line. Next thing you know, it's 10-0. And it's just it's coaching, it's players, it's just everything at this point.
Let's see what Lex has to say. Lex, good morning. You're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Good morning, gentlemen.
What's up, buddy?
Awful showing. This team, to me right now, is in disarray. The coaching is bad. I mean, these guys are playing bad football. I think the last 5 weeks, they have been one of the worst teams in football. Not only that, I think they need, from here on, they need to just run the ball. They got the number 1 offense, supposedly. Run the ball. Take time on the clock. Manage the clock. These guys can kill 11 minutes easy. That RPO stuff is not working. Just run the ball. These guys are making it complicated for themselves. It's just easy. Run the ball. You got good running backs. Run the ball.
I don't. No, the ego is too big on them that they say, no. We're not going to run the ball. Look at the weapons we have.
Yeah.
We're not going to do it. Yesterday would have been a perfect example. You didn't have Smith. You lose Brown. And by the way, A.J. Brown and the fumbles. Seriously? Don't tell me. The knee thing happened after he'd already fumbled. That's a terrible fumble. There's no reason that ball should be fumbled. That's a bad play.
You know, Lex's point, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. I'm not saying what I was saying was when your receivers got hurt and you're going against, I would like to have seen more run. What my problem is overall is where's your identity? Like yesterday, the identity of the Giants was to blitz, blitz, blitz. It's their identity all the time, and it worked for them, and you threw the Eagles' passing game off. As far as offensively, Giants, they took advantage of the Eagles' linebackers and safeties and did whatever they wanted that way, and were really good at it. What was different about the Eagles yesterday?
Nothing.
Like their offense comes out, and it's so the same. Look, roll, throw out of bounds. Look, try to throw something deep to the sidelines, out of bounds. Like, it's all the same. And I'm not saying run, but where are the slant patterns? They ran a jet sweep yesterday, the Giants did, that the Eagles ran about 8 games ago that I said to you endlessly, man, that was great. Why don't they do that again? Never did it again. I just don't understand what the thinking is that goes on here. And I'm more convinced than ever after somebody pointed that out last week, they're overthinking things. They're trying to reinvent the game of football. Like, it's not that hard sometimes.
I heard you on the pregame show yesterday, Pat, where you talked about the fact that, overcomplicating things like what Bob just referenced. And they really do. They make 2 + 2 = 4 into quantum physics.
Yeah, I mean, we have a third down coaching staff, and we have a 4-minute, a 4-minute offense here, and the 7-minute this. It's like, what? What are you talking about? It's like the guy that tries way too hard to sound intelligent, and you take a step back and go, dude, you sound stupid. And when you start hearing Brian Johnson talk about, in our 4-minute offense and this, what the hell is a 4-minute? Just run your offense. You have a 4-minute offense. You're dedicating time to what we do in the 4 minutes. So you're dedicating time to what we do in the 7-minute offense and the 8-minute, and okay, well, this is only 5 minutes, so this play has to go. Like that offense yesterday looked like the offense I saw Jalen Hurts run in his first season when he didn't look like he had a clue.
When Nick Sirianni was calling the plays.
Yeah.
Very
But
similar.
the design is horrible also.
It's horrible. It's horrible
I mean, I
design.
can call a play, but if I have 4 receivers going out and they're all running 15, 18-yard patterns before they even turn around and look at Jalen Hurts, like, what are we doing here when the other team is blitzing and you're not picking up the blitzes? Why are you not saying, hey, tight end, you're the hot read here. If you see a blitz coming, you got to curl it at 5 yards. And, Jalen, you got to hit him there. Because the middle of the field was wide open because they were bringing so much blitzing. Like, what are you doing? Isn't it that basic?
Hey, a Football Monday and the Fanatic is presented by Pierce Phelps, Bryant Heating and Air Conditioning Contractors, and it's getting hot in here, too. Visit nopaybryant.com, get flexible spending options on a new heating and cooling system. Scott has a question for us on the Fanatic that I think a lot of people are asking this morning. Good morning, Scott.
What's going on, fellas?
Hey, Scott.
I called a few weeks ago and we talked, and I compared this team. We were on a bye, and I said this is like a relationship, Take a bye, come back to the same problems. At that point, we were working it out. I think now it's time for a divorce from Nick. Like I don't know what Nick does besides motivate, and at this point, he can't even do that.
I don't think he's motivating. I mean, right now, it's bad. It really is bad.
First year, Hurts was bad. Nick was calling plays, gave the calls to Shane Steichen. We started to take off. Last year was all of Shane Steichen. Take away Shane Steichen, and Hurts is bad again. This is the $50 million Lamborghini.
Yeah,
Nick can't drive it.
Some of this has got to be on Jalen. Some of this has got to be on Jalen too, right? He doesn't get a pass.
It is, but Bob mentioned the players is running their routes last night. They clearly melded it. No, I'm just running my route. If I'm open, I'm open. If not, so be it. I'm not going to look for the quarterback. I'm not going to get myself. They just ran what was called. I'm doing what I'm told. That's it. This team is mentally broken. They're damaged. They're good players. You're not going to tell me they beat the Chiefs and the Dolphins and the Bills by accident.
Right.
It's all mental at this point. They don't know who's in control. They don't know who's in charge, and they don't trust the management.
Well, there's been nobody. Thank you, Scotty. There's nobody leading, and the veteran leadership in the locker room, I don't want to hear about because it's failed them. There's no veteran leadership fixing this. You don't go into this tailspin if you have strong veteran leadership. They've either checked out or they don't believe in the coaching staff. There's something going on. There is a problem going on because if you have a strong veteran presence in your locker room, you don't collapse like this. This is terrible.
I'm kind of agreeing with the second thing that you said. You said it's either this or it's they don't believe in the coaching staff. I really think they're not believing in the coaching staff right now. And
you do believe that's what it is? Yeah.
I do. I do. It's just when you have all the different takes that the players gave in the locker room yesterday, and, it's just the way that they're playing. And I thought he brought up a good point. It looks like they're being told what route to run. Okay, I'll run that route.
I'll run it.
Like,
that's it.
what you're telling me to do. I know this sucks because we've run it 600 times and it never works, but okay, we'll do it again. I don't know. Like, I'm watching all the games yesterday. We're going back and forth between so many games, and so many teams had second-tier players in and backups and all that. But they look like football teams. They look like, all right, I have to get here and I have to run this and I have to do that, and they're doing it. And then you look at teams that are going to the playoffs, like watching that Buffalo-Miami game last night, and they're running. Of course, Miami offense is really neat, but it's fun to watch. They do smart things. All right, how about 2 weeks ago? I think it was maybe the first play of the game or second play where Jalen Hurts pitched it out to DeAndre Swift, and it went for like 4 or 5 yards. A pitch out. It's the only time I ever saw it.
We never see that.
Only time you ever see it. I like, what? No. Why? Do you not mark down what things work or what you run well? And do you not mark down that when teams are blitzing, your quarterback needs to get rid of the ball quickly? Did you see any quick slants yesterday?
No.
Nothing.
Well, the A.J. Brown's could almost count as one, almost.
Yeah.
But then there was a fumble. Jalen Hurts spoke to the media after the game, and I bet you're going to be very inspired by what he had to say. Or not. John Kincade Show on 97.5, The Fanatic. Hey, winter.
Sleep Media Group Station 97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia. The real and inside story on the Birds as they get ready for the NFL Wild Card. The John Kincade Show, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
I don't know if this is going to make you feel better or not. 25, 50, 59. Pat, that's not your code to your ATM, right? 25, 50, 59?
No, but you're close.
Man, I was pretty good.
It doesn't matter. You can try it anyway. There's no money in there.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I think with all the you work, I mean, it's unbelievable.
You would think I have expensive taste.
25, 50, 59. That is the Eagles' first and second round draft picks as of this morning because the Saints are done. So the Eagles get the Saints' second round pick, which is 50th overall. Right now they're sitting with the 25th and 59th pick. If the Eagles were to lose to Tampa Bay, they would have the 24th pick and the 58th pick. So it would be 24, 50, 58 in the draft. That's pretty good draft capital there to try to fix some of these problems. Most people are going to say, go right to the defense. But you could lose multiple offensive linemen this year. So we'll have plenty of time to talk about the draft, but
yeah, there's interesting stuff. I got a great text here. For our friend Jim from Souderton texted me.
Okay.
He goes, think about this. When the Eagles beat the Bills were 5-6, the Eagles 10-1. Now they're both 11-6.
Okay, that's incredible.
So that Bills game, I talked about, you bring up a lot about how that San Francisco game just, deflated this Eagles team, it appears. Like I said before, I think that Bills game just had them on the ropes, and then San Fran came in and just had the knockout punch because their defense was on the field so long in that Buffalo game. Buffalo misses winning that game on an overtime drive, but it propels them to finish the season with 6 straight wins. The Eagles are 1-5 since then. Crazy.
It's absolutely crazy. Jalen Hurts sounds a little bit crazy to me. When after the game he talked about telling you sort of like what the Eagles are made of.
We'll do what we need to do moving forward to get ready for our next opponent, and that is the mentality, truly. That's the reality. Reality is you win or go home, and so everybody understands that. We'll see what we're made of. We'll see what this team is made of with that, and I believe in us.
Do you believe that the Eagles have already shown us what they're made of, Pat?
100%.
So yeah. You do believe like none of that rings true with you.
No, I don't think there's some switch that they're going to flip because they've been talking about flipping a switch for 6 weeks now. So no, I don't think all of a sudden they've located it. I don't want to hear about the vibes in the locker room this week and all of a sudden the turning point of the season and blah blah. Like they had their opportunities, and I think it was Jordan Mailata who said, "Yeah, like we're feeling good this week, but ultimately we got to go out and perform on Sunday." Well, you failed. Yeah, you failed the test. I mean, you weren't playing an incredible team. You were playing a team in the New York Giants who had been eliminated from the playoffs weeks ago, and you got hammered.
Yep.
Absolutely hammered by that team. So, no, I don't want to hear, they're dialed in and it takes everybody and they're not giving up. Like, you've given up. All right? You're going to go through the motions and all that, but Bob laid it out perfectly. They're the guy that just doesn't really care about coming into work at this point. He's going through the motions. He's probably looking for a new job. Well, he doesn't care.
Do you put the veterans on that list?
Yeah, everyone's to blame. I blame everybody in NovaCare besides Britton Covey. Because that guy wants to
and
play.
Jake Elliott. Yeah.
No, but I mean, yeah, for the most part, yeah. Like, everyone has a hand in this. Everybody.
God, it's terrible.
It's funny. It's a great question that you posed, John, because right away my mind went to, okay, we all know how bad things are now. They may be playing the worst brand of football in all of the NFL. Forget playoff teams. They might be playing the worst football right now. So what is this team? At 10-1, we were saying, they're 10-1, but they're not really playing great football. But they found ways to beat Kansas City, Buffalo, Miami. They did that. So is this team closer, if you look at it, are they closer to the one that's playing Drek football right now? Or are they could they be closer? Are they really identified as being the one that won 10 out of 11 somehow, some way without playing their best football?
Drek.
Because
I'm voting Drek.
Yeah, I don't think this is a Drek football. Right now they are.
Right, exactly.
But I mean, overall, if you look at the talent and all that stuff, I would have been more surprised if you told me they were going to lose 5 of 6 as opposed to win 10 of 11.
Yes. I would have believed if you told me they would win that they would lose 5 of 6 during the gauntlet and then finish out strong with 2 wins over the Giants and 1 win over Arizona, I'd feel better about things, and that doesn't make much sense either. It doesn't make much sense, but at least you'd be on a 3-game winning streak and you'd feel like something was potentially fixed. Nothing's getting fixed with this team, and that's the problem. And, it's rough. Biscuit, you got those kids on the bus yet or what?
Nah, man, I ain't driving today. I'm under the weather today, man. I wasn't feeling too well, so I took the day off.
Okay, well, I hope you're feeling better, buddy.
Yeah, but listen, Doug Peterson won your Super Bowl. He's gone. Andy Reid was the winningest coach here. He's gone. Sirianni, he got to go.
I understand. I understand anybody who tells me they think that's the answer. I do understand where you're coming from. And 2 weeks ago, I did not. 2 weeks ago, I did not. I understand now.
I'm tired of hearing these excuses.
Bumper stickers. Yeah, bumper stickers.
I'm going to fix this. I am so tired. I'm from a passionate fan base. I'm a passionate Eagles fan. I love my team. But this is nothing to be happy about. And they walking off the field like it's nothing.
Yeah,
they look like they don't want to play.
Biscuit, take care of yourself. I feel a little bit better, man. Bob, I'm telling you, I think it was a microcosm of everything, watching Jason Kelce wander around the sidelines. And until the fourth quarter, he was walking around and he was interacting with nobody. And then finally in the fourth quarter, he's interacting.
So you read it as what, frustration?
Yes,
or
he's ready to punch a wall or he's just throwing his hands up going, I don't know what. I can't believe I'm going out like this. That's what I sort of read it as.
Okay.
I can't believe that I'm going to go out like this. But I got to tell you, yesterday, the performance of the offensive line, they got to own that.
Jeff Stoutland, the god of offensive line coaches,
yes.
And I say that with reverence. I don't say it mockingly. Why was it so badly picking up a blitz against a Wink Martindale that does it all the time?
And you know what you're expecting.
Yeah, I mean, who was it? Was it him? Was it Jason Kelce? Was it Jalen Hurts? Was it a combination of everybody? I don't know. I didn't notice the Kelce thing on the sideline because I'll have to tell you a story that I told Pat. Yesterday, second quarter starts, and I stand up and I start going over to the Christmas tree, and my wife's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm taking off the lights. I'm going to take down the shit, already taken off the ornaments." She's like, "The game's on." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm all right. Don't worry about it." So I do that, and she's like, "I can't believe you're doing this during the game." And I'm like, I'm just not into it. I sweep up the needles, I vacuum, I move the furniture back to where it's supposed to be, and she's amazed.
And you're still watching the game outside of your eye.
Yeah, it's right there, but, I never do something like that.
No.
I kid you not, I had my phone sitting somewhere. I sit down, I pick up and look at my phone. My old boss, Pat McClune from the Daily News, huge, used to be our sports editor. I have a text from him. He said, "You'll never guess what I just did. I just took down the Christmas tree and all the lights, and now I'm sweeping up the needles, and his wife, Tracy, he said she's about to collapse in disbelief." I said, "Oh, my God, just did the exact same thing." The apathy that we've gotten to with this team is kind of incredible and nauseating at the same time.
Hey, Football Mondays on The Fanatic are presented by Pierce Phelps Bryant Heating and Air Conditioning Contractors. Visit nopaybryant.com, and you'll get flexible spending options on a new heating and cooling system. Let's see what Brian has to say. Brian, good morning. You're on The Fanatic.
Good morning, fellas. Good morning, fellas. So
how you doing, buddy?
This conversation, and I'm going to say, I believe that the players have their share of fault in this. But let me tell you, this Nick coaching staff is almost comparison to the band that played on Titanic as it sunk. Each week, in and out, we hear for the last, month or so, oh, we got to play to a standard. Oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to game plan. Each game since the 49ers, we have come in with completely no game plan whatsoever. Nothing. It took how long before, decide he's doing a good job. I think he's doing a good job. We get to what, week 11, 12, now it's like, let me make a switch. This coaching staff has failed the team, it has failed the fan base, it has failed the organization, and Nick's gotta go.
I feel your passion, Brian. You could feel it was bouncing through the radio there. That passion. It's just I
struggle with this, and maybe next week will tell us more. The Nick has to go stuff.
You understand it, though, right?
Oh,
How
God,
somebody
yeah,
could
sure
say it,
I
right?
do. Yeah, absolutely. I understand
Even if you
it.
don't necessarily agree. you
Yeah,
still understand it.
and I'm not saying I like stability. I really do. And we can't just forget after 2-5 how successful Sirianni was going into the 12th game of this season. 14-3 last year, turned around 2-5, 10-1 to start this year. So there has to be something good there. Maybe he's a good front running coach, and when you have to tighten the belt straps, he's not that.
I think that's exactly what it is.
Do you
think
Pat?
that's what it is?
I think he knows how to lead when things are great, and when you're driving along, and it's smooth road, and clear skies. But when it's raining and you're on 76, and there's potholes, he flips out. He's the guy who's just stop talking, and he's turning the radio down. And he's trying to, he's gripping the steering wheel. Like, he's that guy. I mean, and that's my big thing. When you look at the record, yeah, he doesn't deserve to be fired based on his record. But how do you not stop this from happening with the talent that they have? How are they not better coached? How is it that they're getting called out in week 16 of the playoffs by the announcing crew, who's supposed to be, bipartisan, and they can't because it's so idiotic that you can't get the right personnel into a game. Like, it's every week there's something new where you just go, how is this team this poorly coached?
Your financial advisor, Pat, could give you great advice in 2021, 2022, and then 2023. Your portfolio could start to tank, seriously tank. And nobody is going to sit there and go, I'm just going to trust that everything will work out. I'm going to trust my retirement and all my investments, and everything's going to work out. He's just having a bad year. He'll bounce back. He's done it before. No. You're going to pull your money out, or you're going to go, this is not working, or what's the strategy? I don't know. I don't know what the leadership is of this organization right now. And I put it on the veteran players, too. And I did last week, and I do it again. I don't know what's going on. Hey, let's see what Dom in Glassboro has to say. Dom, good morning. You're on the Fanatic.
A few weeks ago, I would have said the same thing as you when people were calling for next job. I would have said, yeah, I just don't see it yet. But like you said, the defining moments of the season for this team to tell us who they are were the Giants and the Cardinals game. And just when you go 10-1 and you finish 11-6, that's the worst collapse that
it's the worst collapse ever in NFL history.
Absolutely. And when you talk about Jason Kelce wandering on the sideline, he never even did that under Chip Kelly, and he was going after 3 years.
You saw it. I mean, he looked yesterday despondent. Thank you, Dom. He looked despondent, completely lost, wandering around. They kept showing him because you're at the time you're listening, you're watching, you're glancing. They kept showing Kelce wandering around on the sidelines, talking to nobody.
Interesting. Yeah, you wonder if he's taking it in. Oh, my God, I've played so many games here against the Giants, so many great games, and this might be it.
This is how I'm going to go out?
Yeah.
He's probably sitting there going, I came back for this bleep.
Exactly.
Like, that's what I'd be sitting there going, like, what am I doing here? Well, I'm in East Rutherford, New Jersey. I mean, the armpit of America, and I'm having to sit here and watch this slop, and we're getting embarrassed by this team. We're making Wink Martindale look like he's Monty Kiffin. Like, what the hell is he probably thinking? Yeah, probably that he'd rather be home.
Yeah, but he had, wait a minute, though. He had a chance to change the outcome of that game. That offensive line was pitiful yesterday.
Yeah, they weren't good.
They were pitiful.
When did they take him out?
Starters.
They took him out
at 24. Was it 24?
Whenever A.J. Brown got injured, the next series, pretty much everybody was out.
Yeah, I mean, it was after 10-0.
That was first quarter.
It was after 10-0, and it was. I mean, it was terrible. It was terrible.
And here's another thing, a subject that I want to talk about that Pat and I both found egregious yesterday. So you're going into that game with the thought of, well, you're probably going to keep an eye on the Cowboys game, and you're probably just going to try to right things. You don't want anybody to get hurt. Who are your most important people besides the quarterback on the offense? Is probably your offensive line.
I would say so.
Jason Kelce, Lane Johnson, obviously, and the others, all pros everywhere. Who do you inactivate before the game? Inactive is Tyler Steen, one of your offensive linemen, when you know you're going to be subbing out offensive linemen. Like, What are you doing? What are you doing? There was a time in the game, and my buddy Pat McClune texted me. He goes, Jeff McClain just said that they might have to put Jason Kelsey back in this game because somebody might be a little bit hurt. What are you doing? You had 3 offensive linemen as backups ready to go. 3. Why? What are you? And then the week before, how about Avonte Maddox comes back from his pec injury, and the guy that was replacing him, Bradley Roby, they sit him? And you just say, yeah, Vontae, sorry, you're going to get all the snaps. What are they thinking? And, Pat, you brought it up. You and I almost said it simultaneously yesterday when we were doing the pregame show.
Dumbfounded. Like, that is organizational malpractice to sit there and know that you're going to be taking out offensive linemen and you don't activate one of your offensive linemen who started for you this season. Not only that, this isn't an undrafted free agent. This is a kid you took in the 3rd round. And you're leaving him off? Really? Like, did you need some special team? Did Ben Van Summeren dress? Like, did we need to see him? I'm sorry, I don't want to hear about the special teams angle. This is dumb, and this is the 2nd week in a row they've done something completely dumb with the inactives. Well, and it's the first time in my life that I've really dissected the inactive list and been mortified. But 1 week is one thing. 2 weeks in a row where you go, this is just short-sighted and idiotic. And the fact that they even needed almost to put in Jason Kelsey is proof positive of it.
Well, I think Pat needs to hear this morning from Jalen Hurts because he is, Pat, I think you've forgotten what Jalen Hurts knows. Listen.
As a team, we have everything in front of us. We have the opportunities we want in front of us and about seizing that moment. Nothing else really matters. Not anything of the past, not any record, not any past wins or losses. It's just all 0-0 now.
See, Pat? You just fail to realize it's all 0-0 now. So the Eagles are the exact same team that the 49ers are, exact same team that the Buffalo Bills are.
Totally. Yeah.
You've forgotten this, Pat.
Yeah.
You didn't listen to your quarterback. He just told you.
Should have listened. I was too busy doing anything but that at that moment. Yeah. I mean, I was just trying to forget the pain at that point. I apologize to Jalen Hurts for skipping his post-game press conference.
Yeah. One thing that we haven't brought up that was bad yesterday also is that it's Sidney Brown, it looks like, tore his ACL.
It's terrible.
That hurts because, it's an up-and-coming guy that's growing, and you're trying to maybe make him a part of this team and the future, and maybe it's somebody that can be a starter for you down the road, and he's going to miss most of next year.
Oh, good.
And
love that MetLife turf.
Yeah.
Everything's in front of them.
Yeah.
Everything's in front of them.
But that was a shame.
You guys aren't listening. I mean, everything is in front of them. Everybody is 0-0. The 49ers are in the same position the Eagles are in. You guys just don't listen.
I don't care what they said. I really don't. I'm getting to the point. I said it. Remember back when they were 10-1, I said, yeah, we all put up with what Jalen Hurts has to say. But when things start to go bad, watch how annoying he's going to become.
Oh no, yeah, I mean,
and it's gotten there.
I said to you during the break, like I didn't like these post game comments from Sirianni or Hurts when they were good.
Yeah, right.
And now that they're bad, it's insufferably annoying to listen to the same crap every single week.
Well, you're missing this because Pat, you're forgetting. Nick Sirianni is going to tell us when we return. He's going to tell us all about that locker room. He's taking you behind closed doors, and he's going to tell you what's going on. You don't want to miss it. Plus your calls, 610-632-0975. Let's get through this together, won't you? John Kincade Show on 97.5, The Fanatic. If you own a home or business in Chester, Bucks, Montgomery, Lehigh, or Berks counties, I know you
Every storyline, every angle on the Eagles is here all week as they prepare for the NFL Wild Card. This is the John Kincade Show. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
The all-new BetParks app is there for you. They bring you the 7 o'clock hour of the show. Sportsbook and casino in one sleek, easy-to-use app in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. Get on in on the BetParks app, and you have the national championship game tonight with Michigan and Washington and more. Flyers hockey tonight, all kinds of great things you can stay involved with. I want you to hear what Nick Sirianni had to say after the game, because he told you what his locker room was like. He set it up and said, this is what you don't understand. This is what I know about our locker room. Listen.
I mean, none of us are quitters. We all get up off the mat when we're down, and we get up and we keep going. When you get hit in life, when you get hit in football, you got two options. You can stay down, or you can get the F up. And I know this group is fighters. I know this group will get up. I know that we've all been through things in our life. We've all had to deal with it, and we know how to get up. And that's why we're all sitting in this room. The same message that I talked to the guys about last year, going into the NFC Championship game, about not only are we physically tough, we're mentally tough, and thinking about all the stuff that you've been through in your life and why you're in this seat right now. There's the same message I would say right now, not only when you're won 15 games like we did that last year at that time, but also when you're on a 5-game losing streak.
I honestly, I threw up in my mouth a little bit. And I didn't throw up during chemo. And
it's like Rocky Five right there. It was just gross.
Oh, my gosh.
Not needed. Yeah, it literally sounds like he took the quote from Rocky Balboa about, that's what winners do. And, like, dude, shut up.
Nick, you haven't gotten up off the ground. You've been punched, and you haven't gotten up. You've been embarrassed, and you haven't gotten up, and you haven't fixed anything. So when you keep saying the same crap every single week, fans are just going to tune it out. And I'm sure there'll be some people with some pom-poms waiting for you with some coffee. We love you. We believe in you. Enough of that crap.
Let fans be fans. They can do what they want. I don't care if the fans don't like what he's saying or if we don't like what he's saying or whatever, and rightfully so. But has the team turned on what he's saying?
Well,
has the team gotten to the point of like, all right, man, enough? Like, can you give us some plays that work? Can you design an offense that will allow us to exploit the talent that we have there? That's the main concern that I have. And
it's not there.
I don't know if it's falling on deaf ears or not, but, man, this locker room is going 1,000 different ways, it seems like.
Hey, James in Virginia joins us. James, you're on the Fanatic. Good morning.
Good morning, John. How are you?
Doing all right. Glad to have you aboard.
Appreciate it. Yeah, first thing, I don't think Jalen Hurts is to blame. I'm a huge Jalen guy, but I will say one thing. I'm getting really sick and tired of just seeing him sit on the corner of the bench with that blue steel look on his face, just emotionless. I don't know if he's not trying to get caught on camera because of the A.J. Brown situation, but it's just a really bad look for somebody who's been lauded for his leadership skills. It just strikes me as indifference.
Well, I think he leads by example, like James, the way he carries himself, the way he prepares, the way he works. But during a game, I'm going to tell you, I feel the same way. The lifeless stare off into space, and more importantly, between series, not doing any work. You're just sitting there, and you're not working. You are not looking at an iPad. You're not talking to a coach. You're not having any communication with your offensive line. You're just sitting there, staring off into space, and sometimes shaking your head. That's not leadership to me at all.
And when he's talking to Brian Johnson, he just looks so indifferent and frustrated and not interested at all in what he has to say.
Could be. I mean,
yeah, in the course of a game, how many times do you go to a teammate and say hey, is he sneaking up on you there? Should we try something like a double move on him, or go to your offensive lineman and say, hey, where was I on this pass protection thing? What do you think, Kels? Where should we be going here? When things are going bad and you're just sitting there by yourself stoically and not talking to anyone, that's just natural course of a game that you talk to your teammates about. You can put all the game planning in you want and all that, but things change during a game.
And where
you lost your number one wide receiver. You're getting pressure on you all the time because the other coach is dialing up blitzes all the time. Why are you not talking about this on the sideline?
I'm sure they are. It's just not getting caught by cameras.
Pat, I'm going to tell you this. Last Sunday at the game, I was watching that bench area all the time, and I saw him a couple times look at an iPad and then toss it aside, like literally sort of just toss it to the side.
Yeah.
Whether it was in disgust or whether it was whatever. But he wasn't doing it. He was doing the same thing he did yesterday.
Yeah, we ripped Carson for the same thing. It was, why does nobody pull Carson to the side? It might be a situation where the relationship between Brian Johnson and Jalen Hurts is too close, where he doesn't want to, I don't know, get on him or whatnot. I mean, I do believe that, like, the camera is catching him. I'm not saying it's an tactic by the media to, like, go after him and make him look like this, but I think, the camera's like, all right, you got put on Jalen because he looks miserable right now. And they're not catching him coming off the field and maybe talking to a teammate or two. But if it is the case that you guys are saying, where he basically just goes off and he sits down, he stands there, and he sits like a robot until he's time to go in, then yeah, it might be a situation where the relationship between Brian Johnson and him is too close. And it was something that we talked about with Carson Wentz and John DeFilippo. John DeFilippo went at Carson Wentz and challenged him every step of the way, and he made him a better quarterback. And then you got Press Taylor, and he did the exact opposite. He coddled him. And then you saw what happened with Carson Wentz. Maybe you need a new change in a voice in there, and a guy that, like, isn't friends with him,
or
isn't
leadership
buddies with him.
style. Leadership style.
Something, yeah. I don't know. Something needs to change.
Yeah, you can be the most prepared quarterback in the league, and maybe Jalen Hurts is. Maybe on game day, there's nobody as prepared to play a football game as well as he is for what, they talked about during the week. This is what the Giants like to do, and they like to do. But you also went into a game, and boom, late in the first quarter, you lose your number one wide receiver. Things change, and now your coach took out some of your offensive linemen. Things change. Like, yeah, that does bother me a little bit, the stoic nature of him on the sidelines. We praised it before. Look at how he just stays the same, whether they're winning or losing, he stays the same. Yeah, we did say that before. That's correct, too. So stuff's going to bother you a little bit more when you're 1-5 in your last 6, I guess.
E.J. Smith of the Inquirer had a great quote the other day from Kevin Byard. He said, I came from Tennessee, obviously a smaller market. I feel like it was very easy to keep in-house things in-house. It's very different over here. I feel like there's leaks everywhere. It can be very divisive in a way. It can kind of force players or whoever it may be to almost protect yourself. There's a guy coming into the team halfway through the year, recognizing, and I said it to you before, when Jeff Lurie was, when Doug Peterson was here, that building was a leaky mess. The first 2 years of Nick Sirianni, that building was airtight. You didn't hear anything. You didn't hear any leaks. You didn't hear any of this stuff. And now this year, it's all come apart. That is, it's obvious. It's obvious that something's happening.
Yeah, I mean, they were winning, and that I think is a big part of why you didn't see so much leakiness. And now that they were winning big.
Yes.
We talked about this a little bit on the pregame show, but to me, that makes a lot of sense. Not only who said that and Kevin Byard, but the message that he said. Kevin Byard was also the guy that, if you remember, he took umbrage with the report that the defense wanted to make their own game plan. And a week later, Desai was gone.
Yeah.
So, it makes sense of Kevin Byard kind of pointing out, there's a lot of leaks here. But it also makes sense if you think about the media in Philadelphia compared to Tennessee. And I brought up on the pregame show when Andy Reid left Philly and he's, waiting for his first interview with Kansas City media. There were 3 members. In Philadelphia, you have everybody with a press pass who's ready to grill you. Well, what happens when you have 15 guys who are fully credentialed? They're all looking for sources. They're all looking for a story and an angle. They're all snooping around. When you don't have that many media members, and Tennessee doesn't, there's less likely of leaks to come out because no one's questioning Britton Covey of the Titans about what the mood is in the locker room.
The last, today at 4 o'clock, you can join the best show ever. And they're going to do a great job breaking this all down. And Tim McManus from ESPN.com will be joining them in studio, but for the entire hour. So you're going to get a lot of that inside scoop of what goes on inside those walls. Tim McManus shared some of that last night on the postgame show with Connor and Tom, talking about the fact that this locker room is doing this, and I don't know that it's working.
They're trying to convince themselves that they have a shot, that, it's a 11-6
season. The finish doesn't define them. They have a chance. The way Jalen Hurts put it is all you need is a crumb. All you need is an opportunity. But we see this for what it is, guys. I mean, this is a collapse.
Yeah, it's a collapse. But they're trying to convince themselves we're 11-6. We're 0-0. Everybody's 0-0. That is such a garbage thing to say because it's not true and they know it. It's not the same. You're not the same as the 49ers.
You do realize they're not going to tell you the truth all the time, right?
All the time. How about some of the time?
Like they're
How about
not.
some
Well,
of the time?
you get it from Josh Sweat. You get it from Reddick. You know those guys. The coach has to try to keep somehow this leaking ship afloat. And I don't know how he's going to, but he's not going to go out there and say, yeah, we suck. I don't think we have a chance in the playoffs because we're playing worse than anybody else.
Just worry about yourself. Don't compare yourself to everybody's 0-0. We're all the same. That's telling people you're actually trying to preach to people that we're all the same. Everybody who made the playoffs.
Do you believe it?
No.
You think anybody else believes it?
No, but
well,
the thing
then
is,
don't worry about it. It's all right. I don't want it to bother. I don't want you to get upset about
it's
this.
part of leadership to me, and that's where we just differ. I think leadership is about holding yourself to a standard.
So who's listening to him when he's out there on that day is saying, yeah, we're 0-0?
Well, his team obviously isn't listening to him either.
Yeah, well, nobody's listening. So what?
So
like,
nobody's
seriously,
listening to him.
The team doesn't believe it. Even if they do go back and say, hey, did anybody catch up what Sirianni said on the dais? They don't do that. The players don't care. I don't know how many times I've gone to players and said, hey, just had a talk with the coach. Oh, yeah, what'd he say? And then we have to tell them to get a reaction out of that. They don't know what they say. They don't care.
It's not easy being cheesy. John Cheeseburger joins us from the YouTube crew. John, good morning.
Good morning, everybody. You know what? After what I've seen the last 6 weeks, the only question I got to ask is, when do pitchers and catchers report?
Oh, jeez. You know what?
Haley said it to us this morning. Go ahead,
Haley
John.
said it to me, and I was like, get out. Get out.
You look at how flat this team has played. You look at, if you would have taken the graphic off the screen yesterday with the score and the records, and based on what you were just watching, you wouldn't have known the Eagles were the 11-win team because they hadn't played like it. The Giants came out with the sense of urgency. You would have thought the Giants were playing for the division. And then you look at it. Jeff Lurie has fired coaches for less than this.
Yes.
And if it's one thing we know about him, he doesn't like to be embarrassed. That's why Chip Kelly got fired basically after the Cardinals game on Sunday Night Football in 2015. That's why Doug basically got fired. He doesn't like to be embarrassed. And to see this team collapse after a Super Bowl run, to see them collapse like this, Sirianni, I don't see how you stay. I don't.
Thank you, John. I think what John brings up is very, very fair because, to me, I understand anybody who says to me today, I'm out on Sirianni. Now, and it appears that, Pat, are you officially sort of out on it?
I am probably
waiting till
80-20.
Monday?
I'm waiting
Okay.
till Monday to see
Okay.
what happens.
I
I think
understand
there's
it.
a slimmer of hope that you add Devontae Smith back and Darius Slay back and A.J. Brown. Yeah, okay, there's a sliver of hope. But I'm telling you, if we come in Tuesday and they've lost, yeah, I don't understand how you can justify bringing them back.
I honestly, I think
just because of the record.
I don't want to hear the word either, Bob, that I know I'm going to hear. Well, the optics would be bad if you got rid of Nick Sirianni. If this team does, and the collapse has gone on, I said if they lost the Giants and Tampa game, I would be all in on the discussion. I would be all in, but before that point, I was not. Now I'm halfway there, like Pat. I'm more than I'm maybe even 60-40 right now that I just don't believe he's got an answer. And I think his players are telling us that.
Here's the good news. They don't care about optics, and they've never cared about optics. When they hired Andy Reid, they definitely did not care about optics. I mean, Bob, you told the story about like being down in the hotel with a media guide trying to figure out who he was. When they hired Doug Peterson, certainly didn't care about optics then. When they fired Doug Peterson, didn't care about optics. When they hired Sirianni, didn't care about. There was one popular hire that Jeffrey Lurie has had in his entire tenure, and it was Chip Kelly. And that was just name recognition, like people knew who he was. Other than that, he's never cared about optics. So the good news is, I don't think that'll play into it at all.
That's a great point.
It's a great point, Pat.
And I'll say this right here, right now. You can start wondering what Nick Sirianni's future is going to be, full-heartedly knowing that they're not beating Tampa Bay. I'm saying it right now. They can't beat an NFL team right now. They can't. They can't stop anybody. They can't score on anybody. They're not going down to Tampa Bay and beating them. And I say that fully confident right now. No chance, no way are they going down there and winning. I just don't feel it.
Okay,
I'm not there yet.
I'm not there yet either.
I don't think this team can beat pretty much anybody in the NFL now.
I'm not there yet, but
I don't.
also can't hit the hot take button because I don't think that's a hot take.
No, it's not.
I'm not. You know me. I'm not a hot take guy.
I know you're not. But that's the thing is like some people will go, oh, hot take. I can't hit that because
it's not.
They've shown me nothing in the last 6 weeks that can tell me any different.
Oh, it's ugly.
And you're also talking about a Tampa Bay team who yesterday needed to win and didn't score a touchdown.
They were awful yesterday.
So, I mean, you're playing, and they were playing one of the worst teams in the league in the Carolina Panthers. I'm not kidding you. We've talked about it before. Well, how do they match up with these guys? And I say to you, I don't care about the other teams. It doesn't matter right now about the other team. When you're good enough to plan and say, okay, we need to do this against the other team to stop their advantages and to exploit our advantages. No. I can't even look outside the Eagles right now because I don't think they're good enough to match up with anybody else. I swear to God, it's not a hot take. It's not done out of madness for what happened yesterday. No, I'm watching this team. I don't think they can beat another NFL team right now, and especially another playoff team.
Jeff Kerr from CBS Sports will break it down with us. He was in attendance yesterday. He was in that locker room yesterday. He joins us today at 8 o'clock, so you want to make sure that you are here for that. Terry in Allentown has reached his limit, it appears. Terry, good morning. You're on the Fanatic.
Hey, good morning. Good morning. Yeah, what a crap show yesterday. So listen, man. Regardless of Nick Sirianni's win-loss record, I believe that the whole coaching staff needs to go. Everybody out of there. They had 5 weeks. Okay, San Fran, I get it. They're a tough team. Dallas, tough team. I know they're going to split 1-1 with Dallas. But you know what? 5 weeks they had to get their crap together. And Nick Sirianni was not able to do so. If you can't do that, you're not coaching. And number two, whatever happened to our screenplay? You're talking about they should be running. What about the screenplay, the RPO? And I don't see them going down to Florida and beating Tampa Bay. The Eagles got a better chance of meeting Jesus at Lincoln Financial.
Well, they're good. How about this? Terry, I believe there will be coming to Jesus meetings at Lincoln Financial, but I wonder if you're the boss, if you're Jeff Lurie, or if you're Howie Roseman, do you have one of those coming to Jesus meetings this week while teams trying to prepare for a playoff game?
No, absolutely not.
So you do not?
No, I don't interfere with. Yeah, I wouldn't. That's me. Will they do it? I don't know. I don't know them well enough. That would be something for the beat writers to really talk about, but I would not. I would not interfere with the game plan for a playoff game. Plus, look, he's still auditioning. A head coach is always auditioning, and he is. So, all right, if I'm going to make a decision when this season is over, let's see how this week of game plan goes. Let's see how they perform next Monday night, and does that come into play on my decision after the season?
We've got a few open lines for you for the first time today at 610-632-0975. Tim McManus said something on the postgame show last night with Connor and Tom here on The Fanatic, and you really should listen in. It's very, very good. Tim, who will join the best show ever today from 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock, talked about the fact that a theory that I have certainly been espousing that appears to be more and more right by the minute.
And my first thought is like that San Francisco game. It's almost like it stole their soul. And I feel like a level of panic set in prematurely for this group. And I think when we ultimately look back at the season and what went wrong and look at the decision to demote Sean Desai and put in Matt Patricia, I think that we're going to look at that as a panic move and one that blew up in their faces. And really, Hassan Reddick kind of laid it out this week at his locker stall when he was saying that, some of the struggles have to do with the fact that now you're adjusting to a new defensive play caller who's kind of putting in at least part of a new scheme with some new language and asking us to do different things and doing it on the fly. And, guys, you see it. Like, this defense is just falling apart.
Yep, falling apart. I think it's the easiest way to say it. I mean, they're listless. It's a listless defense.
I've always said that talent from players can make a coach look better. I don't know how much a coach can make lesser talented players, look good enough or hide it enough. So the mantra of the coaching staff has been all year long, got to put them in right positions. You bring in a new defensive coordinator, he's doing exactly the opposite. He's putting guys in absolutely wrong positions. He's dropping Hassan Reddick back into coverage on the first play of the game. Like I don't know. I don't see any difference in the offense. They run seems like the same 5, 6, 7 plays every game. The defense. I mean, it had the even the announcers yesterday scratching their heads like, why?
They look lost was said twice.
Yeah, and it's just it's a plethora of horribleness right now.
Hey, let's go to Karen B., one of our jurors. She's checking in. And, Karen, I know you can't be happy this morning.
John, I am not happy at all. I promise I'll keep it clean. But do you remember that movie Nightmare on Elm Street?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Freddy Krueger.
Yeah. Well, this is Nightmare on Broad Street.
Yeah.
I mean, the team is dysfunctional. The coaches, they have lost the locker room. It is so apparent. Honestly, it doesn't matter what seed we are, who we play, we're done. I mean, I can't rah-rah, I can't do anything. The team looks, if it's possible, the defense looks more lost with Matt Patricia than they did with Desai. I mean, the secondary, it's worse.
Yeah. It's ugly. 331 days ago. Super Bowl.
John. I know, Super Bowl, and here we are. And, I know it looks like A.J. Brown should be able to play next week.
Good.
But, I don't know about Jalen. I mean, I was researching that injury. It doesn't sound so great.
Well, I think he's gonna play. We got to run, but I think he's gonna play.
Yeah, it's a dislocation. You see it get popped back in all the time with fingers and stuff like that.
They'll do therapy this week.
Yeah, I think he'll be okay. It'll be sore, but I've dislocated fingers before. I've seen guys dislocate them worse than me and have them pop back in the middle of a basketball game and keep playing. Yeah,
and had it popped in. Yeah. And I still feel like it doesn't fit right. Sometimes you still feel like it's not good. Hey, here's what I know. Every once in a while, Pat Egan has his own fortune cookie. He says something that is really, really profound. So when he says it, you don't want to miss it. He has a summary of this Eagles team that I think defines it in one sentence, almost better than anything we could talk about. Coming up next, John Kincade Show, here on 97.5, The Fanatic. I love my friends at Landis Block.
Show. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
I'm going to try to put a smile on your face here. Bob Cooney, Pat Egan, would you rather be playing the Bucks or the Rams this weekend?
Bucks.
Yeah.
Would you rather play the Bucks or the Packers?
Bucks.
So that's the only thing I tried. There it goes. I mean, that's the least. That's the all I can get is that I'd rather play the Bucks than play who Dallas is playing or who Detroit's playing. And I think Detroit has Matthew Stafford coming home with the Rams, and the Rams and the Packers both really playing on the upswing the last 7-8 games. I'd much rather play the Bucks. I watched a lot of that Carolina game yesterday, and my eyes hurt from watching it.
Who would you rather be, the Bucks or the Eagles?
I think I'd rather be the Bucks.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that I'm at home and the fact that it's an opportunity to do something in a year where everybody's like, oh, you're 9-8, whoop-de-doo. And they can come out and say, no, but we want a playoff game, and now we can take the next step. And I believe they've got something in Baker Mayfield. I don't know what it is, but they've got something.
They averaged like 3 yards a pass attempt yesterday.
Oh, my God,
they
it was
were
terrible. Well,
horrible.
he's so hurt. I mean, he's playing hurt, and he's still managing to do something. That was a terrible game yesterday, though.
Still don't think the Eagles can go down there and win, though.
Patty, and you're the first person, by the way, all week long. Bob's the first person to say it and put it in cement. He didn't wiggle around that. He said it. He doesn't think they're winning. Pat said something so profound, though. I just want to just turn the mic over to you, Pat, because I think it made me think when I read it, and when I had to think about it, you pissed me off a bit.
This is Pat's point of view. Here's Pat.
Sorry for pissing you off.
You did a little bit, but I think you were profound.
You were probably in a bad mood already from the game, so I'm not going to take full responsibility. This is the most unenjoyable playoff team I think I've ever seen in my years of being a Philadelphia sports fan. By far, this is the most unenjoyable team to make the playoffs that I can remember. Because there are teams that have made the playoffs in the past. Sixers teams. They make the playoffs, but they're not doing anything. There's no expectation there. And then there's teams that make the playoffs and there's high expectations, but they've gotten there and they've probably done so playing pretty decent either baseball or hockey or basketball or football. And then you've got this weird modicum of, talent, but not living up to it and just limping into the playoffs the way they are with, 4 of your last 5 games of being losses. And I'll go on record and say it probably would have been 5 had Tyrod Taylor started that full game against the Giants. This is just not an enjoyable product. And I didn't think it was all that enjoyable when they were 10-1. Record-wise was enjoyable, but when you actually watch the games, it wasn't exactly like a party on Broad Street. It was, head-scratching and, nerve-wracking. And then it's followed up by this recent stretch. Yeah, this is the most unenjoyable team to make the playoffs that I can remember in a long, long, long time, if ever. And
you're saying a team that had some modicum of expectations.
Because
there's Sixers teams that limped into the 6th seed and the 7th seed, and it's all right, I don't really care about them because they're not doing much. But when you look at this is the most unenjoyable because we did have high expectations for them, and they've fallen flat for the most part.
Yeah, they have.
And the text that Bob got from Jim from Souderton about the differences between the Bills and the Eagles since they played each other is, that kind of says it all. I mean, this team did get broken completely by San Francisco, and they've been floundering. I mean, they are. And then to hear after the game some of the comments, they're the dog in the burning building. The building's on fire, and they're sitting at the table going, "This is fine. It's all right." No, I don't enjoy watching this team play football, and they're a playoff team.
I think your honesty is refreshing.
Because I know I'm not the only one.
No, I think it's refreshing because I believe there's a lot of people that sit behind microphones in this town that will decide to put on the pom-poms and say to you, "Come on, season's not over. Come on now." You're telling viscerally how you feel.
Yeah, right.
And I absolutely. And Monday could change you.
I hope to God that in a month from now, I am laughing about this segment and saying I was young and naive and stupid. But as I sit here today, no,
you don't have to wait till next month to say you're stupid.
Well, yeah, good point. But I have not enjoyed this season of Eagles football, and it's been head scratching to me because they have won, and they are a playoff team, and getting into the playoffs in the NFL is, the most important thing. So they've checked that box off. And normally I look at getting the playoffs. All right, yeah, that's a success. And if they had gotten the second and even the third seed, it would have been, okay, fine, whatever. They had a tough stretch of games, and it happens. But the fact that they are where they are and how it happened, and they don't have any clue on how to fix it, yeah, it went from bad as 10-1 can be, but it wasn't easy, to now just being putrid.
I love your honesty. And
I
Bob,
do not.
Bob, I mean, he's honest. Does he reflect how you sort of feel?
Yeah, this is head-scratchingly crazy. I don't remember a time of whether covering a team or being on the sports scene, watching a collapse of a season like this.
I think it's the worst collapse modern day. I don't want to hear about the 64 Phillies if the vast majority of people were not alive to see that.
No.
So, I mean, modern day, this is the worst Philly sports collapse ever in a regular season.
It might take over that narrative of the 64 Phillies, of that being the worst collapse, because this is if somebody puts out right now after this week, and many people I guess will, the NFL rankings, where are they?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, who's below the Eagles? Carolina?
I mean, seriously.
The way teams are playing right now, is anybody playing worse football than the Eagles? Because what they're playing is unrecognizable.
Oh,
It's
no,
not,
you're
and it has
right.
nothing to do with personnel. Forget personnel. You could take the numbers off the backs and the names off the backs. If I'm just watching it, I'm like, what the hell is that team doing? Wow, that team. You listen to national announcers come in and watch these games, and the way they announce, this
They're
is
aggressive.
horrible.
And they're aggressive about their critique.
Yeah. Yeah,
Which is sort of, Pat said the last week, they said stuff that normally you don't hear.
No, I mean, normally they'll kind of hide it just to try to be unbiased. And I don't think that they're biased in any way. I just don't think they want to come across as such. But when you see in week 16, you can't sub in the right personnel, I'm sorry, that is coaching.
Yep.
That is laughable. And if I was a fan if I'm Boom Boom and Squiggy right now in San Francisco, I'm cackling at what this Eagles team is doing.
You know what our buddies from Dallas are doing that we sat next to at the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I'm doing the same thing.
Yes.
I'm loving this. Because I mean, what the coaching staff and unmotivated players have done is turn this team into like a high school squad, and a bad one at that.
I don't think you're wrong at all. I was given a text this morning, by the way. We're going to talk to Jeff Kerr from CBS Sports coming up here. A little text this morning in my ear. Just put it away in your memory banks. That the Eagles next year, their 9 home opponents are the 3 in the division, and then Atlanta, Carolina, Green Bay, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and Jacksonville. And a little birdie told me watch for the Jacksonville game maybe to be an international game. Because Jacksonville usually plays multiple international games, and an Eagles home game would be given up. It's the 9 home game year. Look for the Jacksonville game to maybe be a game that the Eagles would be sent overseas for.
We can do wins and losses right now if you want, since we know who's home, who's away.
Yeah, you do. By the way, you have on the road, you have the 3 divisional games. Then you're going to New Orleans. You're going to Tampa. You're going to Los Angeles Rams. You're going to Cincinnati, and you're going to Baltimore. So, I mean, Cincinnati and Baltimore, Washington, New York, those are 4 games that are definitely drivable. So that's good for the fan base if you want to think about traveling. Or you can just go with Philly Sports Trips. They'll do a great job of taking you there, too. So let's go to the Comcast Business Hotline. Every day in business is a big day, and Comcast Business gets you ready for what's next. Jeff Kerr had to sit through it yesterday. And more importantly, had his eyeballs right on it and got to see that team. And the question is, Jeff, do you feel that was the death of the 2023 Eagles, or do you believe this team has an opportunity to pull themselves out of this tailspin?
You know what, John? I feel like the death of the 2023 Eagles happened when Drew Lock went 92 yards down the field against them a couple weeks ago in Seattle. That was a game that felt like the get-right game, right? They had an excuse for losing to the 49ers and the Cowboys, the 2 best teams in the conference. You have to beat the Seattle Seahawks, especially when they have a quarterback and you change defensive play callers, and you just let Drew Lock march right down the field. Then I saw the vibe of this team completely change, and they really haven't recovered. They won against the Giants on Christmas, and it didn't even feel like a win, especially in that locker room. And that locker room has basically become, a mausoleum, if you will. It's just quiet. And look, now all they're saying is we're 0-0, we're 0-0. Yeah, okay, I'm sure the Miami Dolphins are saying that too after they can't beat another winning team. So, at this point, you just kind of roll your eyes at the whole thing.
When you look at the team, Jeff, and their reaction to what went on in the locker room yesterday, is it kind of a synopsis? Has it gotten to that they're just a synopsis of we don't know what the hell's going on here, or are they talking more about game to game? Because I think that's a key factor in where their heads are.
I feel like this is tough to point out, Bob, because I feel like with this football team right now, they are searching for answers, but they feel like they can just turn it on at any point because of the talent they have. They keep mentioning the individual talent they have in this locker room and how they believe in each other. Well, I do believe they believe in each other. The problem is they're just not doing it on the football field. They don't have the personnel, honestly, to beat these really good football teams. They don't have the personnel to beat the really bad football teams like the Giants. And it's frustrating, honestly, when you're watching it, when you see the middle of the field wide open, when you see the Giants just sending 3 guys, and the Eagles don't have an answer for it. And now they're going to face a team that blitzes the third most in the NFL. The Giants were second, the Vikings were first. And Jalen Hurts is terrible against the blitz, and the offensive line doesn't know how to pick up the blitz, and there's no hot reads. Now, look, I know A.J. Brown left the game early yesterday, and Devonta Smith wasn't there. It's going to make a difference, but I just don't see this team adjusting enough to score enough points to beat Tampa.
When you look at this and how this team's playing, to me, I asked last week, where's the veteran leadership? Where are the guys? And I look at the offensive line for that veteran leadership right there. And to me, yesterday, they got dominated. They looked almost disinterested in their performance. I don't really feel safe, like when I question teams' effort, but it certainly looked like it.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue with this team is right now, I'm hearing the same 3 guys talk. And now, give them credit. They're available all the time, and they answer all the questions. Brandon Graham, Jason Kelsey, Fletcher Cox. They're biting the bullet. But you ever hear Lane Johnson? I know Lane Johnson's, he has his, all the stuff going on with him. But I haven't heard from him once this year. And not since training camp anyway, So he's a veteran leader in this locker room. Josh Sweat doesn't seem to have an answer for anything right now, which, I think he's more confused on his play. Same with Hassan Reddick. I just feel like everything has snowballed with this team. I think this team heard the outside chatter when they were 10-1. Well, they're really not any good. And now they're starting to believe that. And they can talk all they want about, we got to get this corrected. We're 0-0. We believe in the guys. We believe in coach. We believe in this team. But right now, it's, when you lose to the New York Giants, you lose to the Arizona Cardinals in back-to-back weeks, you don't really get the benefit of the doubt.
Jeff, we heard what Kelsey said. He still believes in Nick Sirianni, and he believes the team does also. But have the actions of this team made you believe that the defense believes in Matt Patricia, the offense believes in Brian Johnson, and as a whole, they do believe in Nick Sirianni? Or have you seen evidence the other way?
It just seems like Nick Sirianni is sending out the same message every single week. And, like yesterday, we freaking fight. This team fights. These coaches fight. If you hear that, I kind of rolled my eyes when he was saying that yesterday. So if I'm rolling my eyes, what's a player doing who has to hear this all the time? It feels like Nick just doesn't have an answer. And look, I think part of the problem with this team is, and no disrespect to Brian Johnson, but do you think he is the right guy to challenge Jalen Hurts right now?
No.
Jalen Hurts had as many touchdowns, as many interceptions as Dak Prescott did last year, and we crucified Dak Prescott. The national media, the local media here, everybody crucified Dak. I think Jalen should probably get that same treatment right now, sadly, because he just doesn't look like the MVP quarterback that we know. And I think Brian Johnson plays a big role in that. And this coaching staff, they really miss Shane Steichen. Defense, I just think these guys know Matt Patricia's out of here. Sean Desai's out of here. They may be out of here. They're going to revamp the whole thing. So I think the defense is trying to do what they can. But the offense, this team has way too much talent to be this bad.
Right now, when you look at when you look at it, when you hear Nick Sirianni and you're in those press conferences and you hear the players, we've wondered this morning, like Jalen Hurts on the sideline. And last week, I know we were all watching it up in the press box against Arizona. I noticed a few times Jalen actually looked at an iPad on the sidelines between series. Yesterday, it appeared to be the same almost disinterested look out of him when he was in the game. I don't understand it. I really don't. It's not a leadership style that I prefer, and I know that he leads well by example. But does this team need somebody to grab it by the lapels and maybe speak up and speak the truth?
Yeah, I'm always curious how the even keel attitude works. And Jalen's always even keel, good or bad. And sometimes I think that's a really good thing, especially when you're winning. I'm curious to know how it is when you're losing, when the guy dislocates his finger, it's a finger, and it doesn't really seem to bother him, or, just sitting on the bench with that look on his face. Like, I know you're trying to figure out anything right now, the body language, and I don't know if some people gravitate toward that body language or not. I honestly think Jalen needs to be, and look, I don't want to tell Jalen Hurts how to lead. The guy's won a lot in his career. But, I think he needs to be a little more rah-rah, right? I mean, you are an offensive captain. You're the guy everybody gravitates to. And look, that's not just Jalen. That's A.J. Brown. I think Jason Kelsey does do that. I think Lane Johnson does do that. But I don't see the defensive guys doing it either. Either the defensive captain. So I don't know, John. It just feels like a lot of these guys just either they can't wait for it to be over, or the emotional toll of the Super Bowl loss was just so much for them. And this 10-1 start was it just took a lot out of them, and they're just mentally tired. And this is a team I feel with a couple changes could just reset next year and just take the NFL by storm again. It just feels like everything just piled on and collapsed at the same time.
Jeff, if the Eagles do go down to Tampa next week and don't win that game, get ousted in the first round, it winds up they lost, 6 out of their last 7. Where do you think Nick Sirianni stands as far as Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman and his future here?
I feel like you got to at least have the conversation because, I mean, if you're an owner, what do you say to him in an exit meeting? You did nothing to get us out of this. And a lot of people are questioning what Nick Sirianni actually does right now. And that's never a good thing with the head coach. And look, just covering the league, I've seen Dennis Allen not being able to get the Saints out of ruts. And the Saints missed the playoffs again. I saw Arthur Smith make the Falcons a good 2 weeks in a row, and then they looked bad 4 weeks in a row. And now Arthur Smith's out. But look, they gave Nick Sirianni full autonomy to pick his coordinators this offseason. And he came up with Brian Johnson, and the offense is worse. And he came up with Sean Desai, who was let go after 14 weeks, essentially, in favor of Matt Patricia, who Nick also brought in. It's maybe they keep Nick, and they say, guess what? We're picking the coordinators. I think Nick will get another season just because he does have 34 wins over his first 3 years, and only 4 other coaches have more wins after their first 3 years. But I don't think any of these coaches experienced a collapse like this. I mean, this is 1981, historically bad. This is, 1994 Eagles bad, where they started 7-2 and ended up 7-9, missed the playoffs, and Rich Kotite was fired. It just doesn't seem like things are going to get better right now. I think you've got to have that conversation.
Okay, let me ask you one thing here. Is when you talk about the coordinators being hired, I said, so you believe that Nick had the autonomy to get the guys that he wanted there. Do you believe then that becomes more of a reason why he would exit than stay?
Well, if you look at the Doug Pearson precedent, remember, Doug Pearson wanted to keep Mike Rowe, and the Eagles said no, and that's when everything kind of snowballed with Doug. And Doug won a Super Bowl here. Doug actually won something here. they changed things up with Nick, and they saw the result. So maybe they will put the blame on Nick for this and won't give him a chance to change it. Because remember, Jonathan Gannon was who the Eagles brought in. Nick Sirianni, yeah, it helped he was friends with Nick Sirianni, and he knew Nick Sirianni, but he wasn't Nick Sirianni's pick. That's Jeffrey Lurie. That's Howie Roseman. And Nick Sirianni was the one who picked Sean Desai when Denard Wilson, in hindsight, and a lot of people said that at the time Desai was picked over Denard Wilson. Denard Wilson should have been the guy. The players liked him. So maybe that plays a role into it, too. Hey, we picked the wrong guy. Or, Brian Johnson is Jalen Hurts' friend, his confidant, his buddy. Maybe Jalen Hurts doesn't need a buddy. Maybe Jalen Hurts needs to be coached hard, like how Frank Reich and John DeFilippo did to Carson Wentz. It seems like the whole Carson Wentz thing is starting to go over again.
Here's the way I'd do it. I'd be all right now, Jeff, as we let you go. I'll take Frank Reich as offensive coordinator. I'll take Ron Rivera as defensive coordinator.
What about Matt Eberflus if he gets fired?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, look, I'm up for anything right now. Jeff, good job. Everybody follow at CBS Sports. Follow along on Twitter. Get a links. You have some really good stuff out there. Get ready for the playoff game next Monday. Thank you, buddy.
Yeah, sounds great. Thanks for having me on, John.
There we go, buddy. He joined us on the Comcast Business Line, where every day in business is a big day. And Comcast Business gets you ready for what's next. I want a veteran coordinator in here. One of the two coordinators must be a veteran, and I want a guy with some head coaching experience if available.
I'll take Eric Bieniemy in a heartbeat.
Oh, it'd be great. And he might be gone.
Yeah.
In Washington. He's not. Reportedly, there's a lot of talk that he won't be considered for. He really won't be considered for the head coaching job, which is strange to me.
Come here to Philly. We have a head coach that's teetering anyway, so we'll see what's going on.
Hey, Football Mondays and the Fanatic are presented by Pierce Phelps, Bryant Heating and Air Conditioning Contractors. Visit nopaybryant.com for flexible spending options on a new heating and cooling system. Well, plenty of time for you to get in with us at 610-632-0975. You've been venting with us today, and Bob says that there have been decisions that have been head-scratching, but he wants to know who is most off when it comes to this team right now. And Bob wants names. Pat, get ready to give Bob names, or he's going to come for you.
I don't have names.
John Kincade Show, 97.5, The Fanatic. Hey, every team has an elite performer that they
The Eagles is here all week as they prepare for the NFL Wild Card. This is the John Kincade Show. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
You'll hear more from Nick Sirianni coming up from postgame last night. Thanks to Josh for assembling all that for me today. Much appreciated. Shane Haff does a great job. Shane Haff, NFL, H-A-F-F. NFL does a great job on just little tidbits and analysis and sort of breakdowns and everything. Did you know the Eagles are going to finish this season with 5 Monday Night Football games? He tweets out, and I just retweeted it. The Cowboys have had 5 Monday Night Football games in the last 4 years. The Bills have had 6 Monday Night Football games in the last 3 seasons. The Eagles will have 5 this year in 1 year. The Chiefs have had 4 Monday Night Football games in the last 3 years. It's going to say it's a strange thing. 5 Monday Night Football games. I said it last week.
And you got to throw in a Thursday night in there, too. At least one, right?
Everybody gets one. Everybody gets a Thursday night, though.
I mean,
you have to play one. But to me, it just is. It's so annoying that it's like, for whatever. Now, they want the ratings. And ESPN paid a fortune for Monday Night Football with ABC. And the Eagles have been must-see TV. I don't think it'll be next year.
Yeah, everybody gets the ratings, though. I mean, it's
well, they must be picking them for a reason.
Yeah, I know. Why do you think it is?
Because I think that they've been part of. I think 3 of the top 5 highest rated games this year have been Eagle games. I mean, I think people are. I think it's an interesting storyline right now. I think it's a disaster. It's really
people are a glutton for punishment right now.
Well, we're going to be for punishment next Monday night. Now, Bob wants some names, and when Bob asks for names, Pat, you better have them for him. You better.
Now, let's see what's in Cooney's corner.
Yeah, we talk, and we can talk endlessly. Oh, my God, the offense, the defense, the coordinators, whatever. But when you talk about this team, and specifically, let's go the last 6 games where they're 1-5, who's been the most off in your mind? If you look at a player, now it has to be a name. Like I said, don't just tell me the offense or the offensive line. No, not that. Who's been the most off on this whole team during this collapse? We'll go from the 49ers game on.
I think Jalen Hurts. I really do. I think Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts looks lost to me. He appears lost. I don't know that for a fact, but I just think he's either frustrated, disinterested, whatever. But since he won't tell us what it is, I'm just left to speculate, and I think he looks lost.
All right, the offense certainly hasn't looked good in the last 6 games, so that's a fair answer. What about you, Pat? Most off? What player most?
A.J. Brown.
A.J. Brown?
Yeah, I mean, look, they haven't helped him out with just ignoring crossing patterns, and they finally got back to it yesterday. But the big reason why I say A.J. Brown is they get back to the crossing pattern yesterday. They hit him in stride, and Jalen Hurts hits him in stride, and he fumbles the ball. And that's the big reason why I'm saying A.J. Brown. I don't remember drop passes and fumbles all that much last season, and man, he's doing it at an alarming rate this stretch. So for me, it's AJ, because when he does get his number called, he's not really producing in the way that he used to.
So yours and John's answer kind of goes hand in hand, because without AJ Brown can't be off if not for Jalen Hurts also, right? So that's kind of hand in hand. That's pretty good.
It is a great one. I think A.J. Brown, that makes me think. It's very interesting. And the turnovers with A.J. Brown.
Yeah, and with Jalen Hurts. 4 more turnovers yesterday.
What's going on?
I go somewhere else, and it's even a smaller time frame to do it. But I think Matt Patricia has been horrendous.
Oh, he's been terrible.
And I think this defense has been transformed into a horrible one that was average that has been turned into a horrible one. And when you watch the Dan Orlovskis and other people break things down, and they're like, what are the Eagles even doing here? And they're talking about the first play of the game. I don't know. Matt Patricia putting guys in the best positions to win, and you're dropping Hassan Reddick back on the first play of the game.
Did they put Matt Patricia though in a terrible position?
How so?
By calling on him in the it's extremely rare that a coordinator change is made with 4 weeks to go in the season.
No question.
I think both are right. I think both statements are true. Right. I think they put him in a hard position, but he has not. He's not proven that he should be allowed back into NovaCare's complex. Like it's bad. When you're so bad that you make Sean Desai look competent, it's not a good sign. But I think it goes back to like the coach's ego that we see so many times be downfall. And by the way, it's a lot of times it's the downfall of Bill Belichick disciples, their ego, because they think that they are Bill Belichick and they're not. But the idea of you don't think I should do this because you think it's stupid? Oh, okay. Look what I'm going to do the first play of the game, and then it doesn't work, and you look like even more of a fool.
Yeah, they are so out of place all the time defensively.
It's terrible.
I see the talent. I know the talent. You picked Byard up off the street. You picked Leonard up off the street. You're starting Blankenship, an undrafted free agent, as your best hitting and safety out there. You have so many holes in that linebacking core. I know all that. But to have guys not even close to being in position the way they have been over the last 3-4 weeks, I mean, it's ridiculous. How wide open are people against this defense?
I mean, it's at least 5-yard buffers.
I mean, you're talking Dortch lighting you up. And like I said yesterday, I thought Dortch was like some kind of a disease that gets transmitted or something. Like, what is a Dortch?
It was to the Eagles.
And then, here he is torching them and getting wide open all the time. It's funny when we have to do our rides home from doing pregame show and you're listening and all you hear is wide open. Like, how are guys wide open all the time? I'm my off guy right now is Matt Patricia.
Well, I think they're all good names. We have some good names, too, who want to share their thoughts, too. Jeff joins us on The Fanatic. Jeff, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. I thought it was very interesting when you guys said that they're overcomplicating everything.
That's been Pat's point for weeks.
Yeah. So it really stood out to me when they interviewed Brian Johnson. This was the Cardinals game. Everybody remembers the 1st and 20 and the series of plays that came out of it. And it's exactly what Pat said. He referenced the 4-minute offense, and he said you have to think about the kick line. I guess in that situation, you don't want to get Jake Elliott out of his range. You want to manage the clock, and, of course, you want to score. But what he's not using past experiences or just using his noggin. The quarterback draw hasn't worked all year. Does that make sense? So, yes, he considers those things. As a coach, his job is different than us, watching. He has to consider all of that. But just use common sense is what I wanted to say. I'm sorry. That stupid quarterback draw hasn't worked. It's just you get a feel for it. And they're just overcomplicating things.
Yeah, it appears players are confused.
Oh.
So that makes total sense.
Let's run another bubble screen.
Oh, gosh.
Let's see what happens there no matter who the quarterback is. Why don't you give that another try? It's a gluttony of punishment to your mind about what the hell are you trying to do. I could be the most casual of football fans and watch a game of the Eagles and be like, wait, why are they trying that again? It didn't work the first time, and they keep doing it over and over and over again. Like, I would love to know what's going through their minds. What is it about the bubble screen that makes you think it's going to work after all these times that you've tried it and it never has?
I know this man was in attendance yesterday, and I'm sure he's got some thoughts for us. One of our jurors, the great Erock. I give you the floor.
So let me get this straight. In an effort to build some sort of continuity or confidence or demonstrate it not only to your team, but to the Eagles fan base, you play your starters against the New York Giants only to have the exact opposite effect and get smoked by a 5-11 team. And all we can do is walk out of that stadium, shake our heads, and maybe even laugh to ourselves. Listen, so often during a regular season close game or regular season loss, we justify it to ourselves by saying, listen, it doesn't matter about the style points. Nobody's going to remember about style points at the end of the year. All we're going to need is the record that gets us into the postseason. Well, we have the record that got us into the postseason, but if Nick Sirianni and this entire Eagles organization thinks that we aren't going to remember the journey here and the most historic, epic collapse, second-half collapse of an Eagles season that I've ever seen in my life, like, listen, John, I love you, buddy. I'm looking forward to not making these phone calls anymore. This is not fun. This is not a happy place. I love you to death. but I'm looking forward to the day where I can just put this to rest and focus on what needs to change for next year, and that is a sad state of affairs.
E, do they have any chance of winning on Monday night?
They do.
I think they do, too. I do, too, but I don't. It's not going to – I don't know what it means. E, did you hear Pat earlier? He says least – Pat, what's your exact word?
Least enjoyable playoff team I've ever witnessed.
In Philly. Do you
100%.
agree with him?
100%. Most unlikable. You know what? It's not even unlikable. I retract that. It's not even unlikable. It's just confusing, bewildering. You're the team that beat the Bills, the Dolphins, the Cowboys. You beat all the hot teams going into the playoffs where all the national pundits are like, well, you don't want to face these guys going into the playoffs. The Rams, you've beaten all of them.
Yep.
But you've also demonstrated a complete ineptitude against inferior opponents. What the hell, man?
Great job, E-Rock, my man. And he'll join us next Tuesday after the playoff game, which could be the last game. It might not. Who knows? Who knows? It's gonna be
right now I say it is. I don't see this team beating anybody right now.
You were the first one to go on the record, and Pat and I would not join you on that. We would not join you at the moment. I don't know that I might not get there by the end of the week, like as we head towards next Monday. I can't believe we have to wait till next Monday. And as Brendan points out to us behind the scenes here, the Eagles' 4 Monday Night Football games on the road is a record.
Wow. It's nuts.
It's
and
nuts.
If they win, they have a chance. Don't they have a chance to go to San Francisco if the Eagles should win?
Yeah, they're going to go to San Francisco or they're going to go to Dallas.
Right. Yeah, so if they go to San Fran, you're going to face a team on short note on a short week, going cross country that has been resting for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, look, this team isn't going to lose because of the schedule, but they have done no favors by the NFL by their schedule because multiple times they have played opponents on either coming off of large gaps of in between games or coming off of a bye week, and they're coming on a short week. I mean, they really
did.
Like Jeffrey Lurie has a gripe with the NFL, and this crap. You're going to have them play Monday night, and then you're going to have them go to San Francisco when San Francisco's off. I know that's the luxury of having the number 1 seed, and I don't expect the Eagles to win and me to go, oh, well, they lost because of that reason. But it's an annoyance. Like, it's been the whole season.
Well, Nick has a theory on us. Nick, welcome to the Fanatic. Good morning.
Hey, guys. What's up, man? It's sad Monday.
It is. It's ugly.
Yeah, but look, I'm a casual fan. I watch, but you guys know way more than me. But just looking at it, man, we already had a bad schedule from the beginning of the season. We already thought that was already messed up. But this game yesterday, I didn't even think the Cowboys was going to lose. I don't understand why we just didn't bench our starters and just wished for the best and have us wondering, hey, they got something up their sleeve. Because my theory was, I see A.J. Brown, if he didn't drop that pass, would he be injured? Because I feel like he didn't even want to play.
I mean, he dropped that pass. It had nothing to do with the injury, too. I got a couple emails from people going, the guy tears up his knee and you're ripping him. And I'm like, he fumbled before anything happened to his knee.
Yeah, so it's like, I feel like, I don't know, like these wide receivers, they divas. And I think Jalen Hurts' problem is they won't allow him to be a leader. Because there's so many people in that locker room that just like, oh, no, I'm the man. No, I'm the man. And
yeah, it's not
hard.
It's not good. I love your energy there, man. Nick, because you're being honest. I mean, this is where it's at right now. This team is not. They're not generating any faith, and Bob, you've lost faith in them for good reason.
Yeah, I'm not hot mad. I'm not hot take. I'm not this. Look at the way they've played football over the last 3 weeks. I honestly don't think they can go anywhere and win a football game right now. I just don't. I think it's that. I haven't seen the defense make a stop in 2, maybe 3 weeks. I haven't seen the offense look like a professional offensive football team in the same amount of time and maybe even longer. I haven't seen a coaching staff that has made me say, oh, okay, they're designing some things. This is, you're getting out of it now. I haven't seen the obvious things that you should be doing be done. I've seen scratch my head calls by defensive coordinators on the very first play of the game. I see disgruntled players. Why are you dropping me back in the coverage? What is going on here? I don't understand it. You have 2 defensive ends that are just absolutely lost right now. Yeah, there's not a lot there that I can say, oh, I think they can go into Tampa Bay and win this game. I absolutely don't think they can.
I don't think you got enough data on your side when you make that argument. You just stated it well. T-Love joins us. T-Love, what's going on with your football team?
Listen, I did not watch this game yesterday because I knew they would lose. And I hate being right. I absolutely hate being right. I am also in the frame of mind that this team cannot win against anybody. It hasn't been demonstrated. This is just like the Rich Kotite team of 20 years ago. They started 7-2. Aspirations of big dreams. They proceeded to lose the next 7 in a row. This team is bad. He's considered to be the worst coach in Eagles history.
I know
What's
about that.
different? Well, he's one of them.
Well, I mean, his one-loss record would never allow him to be in that conversation.
True. He had a better winning percentage than Buddy Ryan. who
Yeah.
everybody loves.
And Buddy Ryan, people still worship in this town. I have no idea why.
For some reason, yeah.
Yes.
But here we go. Okay, I'll retract that statement.
Okay.
But what I'm going to say is that these coaches, again, that arrogance to try to start 2 rookie coordinators in a season where we know that Jalen, last year it was brought up, and it was brought up at many times through ad nauseum, that this guy works better in his second season with an offensive coordinator.
Yeah, I
That's why he had the breakout season.
Well, I mean, it's one of the things they couldn't do anything about. Appreciate it, but they couldn't do anything about the coordinators leaving. They both got head coaching jobs, but the hiring I don't understand it, and I didn't understand it. I'm not doing 20/20 hindsight. I said it from the beginning. I can't believe you turned the keys over to a NFC Championship team that was tied in the Super Bowl with less than a minute to go to 2 inexperienced coordinators. It was reckless. It was a reckless decision, and it's come back to bite them.
Yeah, the Brian Johnson thing, as we've said endlessly, I didn't disagree with that at the time. I was fine with it. I didn't know anything about Sean Desai, in all honesty. You hear his name, and then you look up his record and where he's been, and you say, wow, he hasn't been all that successful where he was before either. So you thought it had to be a schematic thing. And I don't know. Those are end-of-the-year questions that hopefully Howie and Jeffrey Lurie will answer, like who decided on them, what was the thinking there, because I just don't think Brian Johnson's going to be back now.
So Atlanta fires their coach in Arthur Smith. Now the Commanders have followed suit. They have fired Ron Rivera today. And the Commanders have hired Bob Myers from the Golden State Warriors. They've just brought in Bob Myers, the former Executive of the Year 2-time.
Yeah, he was great.
From the Golden State Warriors to help run their franchise. He is going to run the coaching search. Bob Myers
he knows how to
coming
win.
in. Well, I mean,
In one sport.
That's Josh Harris, with his NBA background, knowing and saying.
He loves to hire the big names.
And saying a great leader is a great leader. But it would be like Daryl Morey being brought in to run the New York Giants. I don't know if that there's a connection there within the building.
Well,
but
I hope all he knows is basketball.
that's what I'm hoping too. That it's an out of the box. It is an out of the box decision.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's an interesting way to go, especially when you're going to be doing a coaching search. You could bring a guy in maybe to get used to the NFL for a year or two when you know you're building, but to bring him in as you get rid of a head coach, okay.
Sometimes to social media, Bob, and you'll say just forget about it. But yesterday, one of the things was, oh man, they had A.J. Brown on that turf and he got injured. The turf had nothing to do with A.J. Brown getting injured. Guy landed on it. The guy landed on him. If you watch the play, it doesn't have anything to do with the turf. It had to do with the guy landing on him, and he landed awkwardly and got wrapped up with him. It didn't have anything to do with the turf.
All right,
Yeah,
but
it's bad.
how many
It's
of
bad
those
turf.
tweets that you're talking about happened in the moment that were sent out? Because I'll throw my hand up. When A.J. Brown went down, my first thought was that GD turf in MetLife.
Oh, no, it's terrible turf.
So I'm saying, you're reading these
Well, I'm
social
saying
media
is-
tweets,
and
and I bet
that's
you
what-
most of
well,
them
that's
had
what-
to do with in
that's-
the moment.
Well, that's my point, is actually watch the play before you tweet. Watch the play before.
Come on, man.
What about the turf? The turf had nothing to do with it. If you watch the play, it never had anything to do with it.
Even if you watch the play, until it comes out that A.J. Brown's fine, I'm not believing that the turf didn't have something to do with it until it comes out that he's fine. Because the turf has taken so many knees before.
But it didn't have anything to do with it.
Yes, well, in hindsight, when you look back,
I don't know if his foot got caught a little bit when he was falling. Maybe his foot did get caught. I'm not making an excuse. I don't know.
You can watch the replay of it. I just watched the replay of it here on social media. It had nothing to do with it. His knee is already engaged before he's even making contact, really, with it, where it would cause any kind of problem. And to Pat, it's not 20/20 hindsight when they showed the replay 10 seconds after it happened.
All right, we just disagree.
You know what I mean? Okay, I know. We can disagree on it.
And
I thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening as well.
I do. I thank you for listening, too.
I appreciate it.
Hey, Ricky in North Jersey joins us. Ricky, good morning. You're on The Fanatic.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
We've been better.
Let me tell you something. Since I live in Newark, New Jersey, the northern part of Jersey, I don't get to watch Philly. But since DirecTV had the NFL package, I've been watching them since. Do you know yesterday was the first time that I shut the TV off before the half?
Wow, it was understandable.
Uh-oh.
They have no fire. And when I forgot who said it, like, I'm not mad, I am angry. Because yesterday, show some life, show some fire. You know, when you watch baseball and somebody hits that grand slam, the pitcher comes out there throwing a little harder, throwing a little bit more inside. When you play basketball, somebody hits that three-pointer to put you up, the defense starts. You know, they put their hands on the ground. Let's go. Let's play some defense. This offense showed nothing. He runs Penny when Gainwell was breaking the holes, and then we just disappear like a genie. Like, what are we doing? Nick Sirianni has to really – and listen, I forget who said it. Should Howie Roseman and should Jeffrey Lurie say something before the plan this week? What plan?
Yeah, there's no
plan.
I don't think there's a plan, Ricky. I'm convinced there's not a plan.
I don't see
because nothing
one.
changes.
Do you go into a game? We've said this so many times before. You go into a game, you watch it, and you say, "Okay, I see what they're trying to do there. I understand." Defensively, the Giants yesterday, God, it's so easy. Yeah, they're going to blitz as much as they can, which was their MO anyway to begin with. Offensively, you're like, "Oh wow, they're really attacking the middle of the field, the linebackers and all that, and they're finding different people that way." You knew exactly what the game plan was, and you saw it, and they executed it, whatever. Then you watch Eagles, and you say. That's what you say because you don't understand anything.
There's nothing.
You're just like kind of jaw is open. Why is it every time on 3rd and 6 they throw deep to the sidelines into double coverage? Why is it that on first down, whenever Jalen Hurts looks to throw, it's stand, scramble, throw away? It's the same god darn thing every time.
Another text, another NFL text this morning. Watch for this name to emerge as offensive coordinator for the Eagles, potentially. Josh McDaniels.
That is gross.
I think it's gross. But he is hell of a lot more complicated. The offense wouldn't look stale. It wouldn't look, look uninteresting.
That's like choosing between drinking Drano and cyanide.
We'll let you hear from Nick Sirianni. That's like drinking cyanide sometimes, too. John Kincade Show on 97.5, The Fanatic. Tonight.
97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia. Now, a Birds playoff update on 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
The Philadelphia Eagles got hammered in their regular season finale yesterday, losing to the Giants 27-10 in a game that wasn't even that close. The Birds finished the season with an 11-6 record after starting off 10-1. After the game, head coach Nick Sirianni didn't seem too worried about his poor play.
Because you believe in the guys in that locker room, you believe in the coaches, you believe in the players. You know, we got a lot of good players that I know will give everything they got. We got a lot of players that know what it takes to get to the top. We got a lot of guys in that locker room who know how to win playoff games. We got a lot of coaches who know how to win playoff games. So that's what makes you confident.
Starting quarterback Jalen Hurts told reporters after the game that it's time to find out what the Eagles are made of.
We'll do what we need to do moving forward to get ready for our next opponent, and that is the mentality truly. That's the reality. The reality is you win or go home, and so everybody understands that. We'll see what we're made of. We'll see what this team is made of with that, and I believe in us.
Eagles will now head down to Tampa Bay to take on the Bucs on Monday Night Football at 8 p.m. I'm Pat Egan on the home for continuing coverage for the Birds as they get ready for their wild card game against the Bucs. 97.5 The Fanatic.
The real and inside story on the Birds as they get ready for the NFL wild card. The John Kincade Show, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
One of the things that looked like it was factual is many fans bringing it up this morning on the air and via emails, via tweets and everything that why don't the Eagles have a better plan for the blitz? Nick Sirianni spoke and after the game, and he said, look, this team, they got a plan for the blitz. They do. Really, they do. And
obviously we didn't do well enough there. So anytime it doesn't go well enough, then that's going to be on me. And so no, the answer to that is no. We didn't do a good enough job, and that starts with me.
Okay, so he told us nothing. He told us nothing. Nick Sirianni doesn't know offense well enough to call plays. He told us that. He spoke that into the universe when he turned everything over to Shane Steichen, and he hasn't taken control of play calling this year. So what would he know about defense then? If he doesn't know offense well enough to call plays, don't tell me that it's the reason they can't pick up the blitz is because you have failed. I know you're trying to fall on the sword. That's a bunch of garbage. That's garbage. That's a garbage answer. Yeah, it's on me. Yeah, it's on me. No. You won't even call the plays. You're an offensive guy. Doesn't make sense to me, Bob. It just doesn't.
Yeah, we're not. This is what happens when you're awful. You're not going to get good answers. You're not going to. Very, very rarely is somebody going to come out and say, "Well, yeah, you know what? Because Coach Stoutland isn't doing his job right, and he's not preparing the guys well enough for a blitz-happy Giants team, which we know blitzes all the time because that's what Wink Martindale loves to do. And guess what? You're going to get that again this week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because they blitz even more than the Giants do." So, he stinks, and Jalen Hurts hasn't been calling the right blocking scheme, so he's not good either. Neither is Jason Kelce right now. I mean, I'll say it for him. How about that?
And you heard from earlier from Jeff Kerr from CBS Sports, and the Buccaneers love the blitz. The Buccaneers blitz all the time.
Oh, yeah. Giants are third most, and they're the second most, and we saw how much the Giants blitzed yesterday.
Tim McManus was on the postgame show last night with Tom and with Connor. And he had the opportunity to speak about this defense, and this is what his assessment was.
We know that the talent's there, guys. Maybe some people will shrug at that one now and say, yeah, is the talent really there? But offensively, just look at the offensive line. Like 3/5 of the offensive line is Pro Bowlers, and the other 2 are alternates. You got a Pro Bowl running back. You got one of the best wide receivers in the NFL in A.J. Brown, and a hell of a complimentary piece in Devontae Smith, and a quarterback that, as of at least a handful of weeks ago, was the front runner for MVP. And then on defense, it's like they just have to not be awful. Getting back to something fundamental where they lean on their talent here, don't overcomplicate it, and see if they can't sort of ride the embarrassment of the last 6 weeks and use that as a little bit of fire on the road in a playoff game.
I will tell you that Tim McManus is a wordsmith. He'll join the best show ever today from 4 to 5. He'll be in there in the studio with them for a full hour to be able to have the option to break this down more. I love that, Bob. All they had to do was just not be awful.
Well, think about what Tim said, and the last person that he talked about was Jalen Hurts. So he said, you have a unbelievably good wide receiver, one of the best in the league, and then you have another wide receiver who is a 1A that probably would be number one on any other team, a great tight end, one of the top 5 in the league, a really good offensive line. We don't have to say they're the best, but Tim said 3 Pro Bowlers and 2 alternates. You have all that. Once you say that, then I think your next line would be, so even a Baker Mayfield is doing well with this, or even a blah, blah, blah is doing well with all that. You have Jalen Hurts, who was, the second guy for MVP running last year, and he's not doing anything with all of that. I got to tell you, you could say insert quarterback here with how Tim described everybody else, and they should be really good.
And they should be good. They should be a playoff team.
No question. They should be playing a hell of a lot better than this.
Hey, you want to get in with us, 610-632-0975, the 9 o'clock hour of the John Kincade Show. As always, brought to you by our friends at the Bagster. You know it's a dumpster in a bag? You can get yours today at Home Depot and Lowe's, and for details, go to Bagster.com. Brian's one of our jurors, and he jumps in this morning. Brian, what are your thoughts on what went down?
I want to throw this team in the Bagster, John. That's what I want to do.
I don't know that they make a Bagster big enough, but we'll see.
After watching for 18 weeks, man, this team is guilty of being the most fraudulent team to start 10-1 of all time. I for my mental health, I had to turn the game off because I made this great filet mignon with white wine sauce last night.
Wow!
And I couldn't watch that game and eat that terrific meal, so I had to turn it off and watch the Mitchells versus the Machines with my wife and 5-year-old son.
That's a great movie. That's a great movie.
And I tell you what, I enjoyed myself so much better than watching that trash. And Nick Sirianni was talking about he has coaches that been in playoff experiences before. What coaches?
Matt Patricia.
Besides you?
He's going to say.
Who else?
Yeah, he's going to say Matt Patricia. That's what I asked. Who are these coaches? Who are they? Some of them were there last year with him, so I guess they're going to take credit for that. I don't know. I got to tell you,
and
Brian.
I think my last thing. I think the only reason he hasn't took over play calling is because he's trying to save his job for next year. I think if he would have took over play calling and he was trash, they might have been moving on from him after this year. So that's all I want to say.
That's an interesting way to look at it. Good job, Brian. That's an interesting way. If he takes over and he's horrible at play calling, then everybody knows that he has no answers.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen it. I said this, 3-4 weeks ago. I would like to have seen him done it. Not that I have super confidence in him, but I would like to see the head coach of the football team say, you know what, this isn't right. I'm going to fix it.
I'll take the wheel.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen it, in all honesty, and I said that, weeks ago. It just seems like something's wrong, but I'm not the guy to fix it.
This plane was crashing, and Nick Sirianni is a pilot. And he just sat in row 11A, and when they said, "Does anyone know how to fly this plane?" he has just sat there in row 11A and not answered.
Yeah, some people don't deal with pressure well,
and that's terrible for my head coach. Yeah, I can't have it.
I don't really deal with pressure all that well. It's why I haven't been hired as a head coach in the NFL. I think that's the reason why. But
you think that's it, Pat?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the only reason why.
Could it be your bad analogy?
Yeah, it's probably my bad analogy, my bad analysis. In fact, I don't really know football all that well, all that combined. But no, I think you need it's a key piece in coaching is knowing how to manage a rut and get the team back on track. And he has shown no ability to get this team back on track.
It's speaking of back on track, funny you use that analogy. So Liv is going today to her first day of her new part-time job with this advertising company here in the Philly area. And so she has to take the train from where she lives on Temple's campus up to where she's going, up in the Bristol area. She's on her first train ride to go up there, and a woman fell off the train. And she had to get off at some place she didn't know and then grab an Uber to get there, and she got there at 8:59 when she was supposed to be there at 9. Wow. I said, that's a good way to deal with adversity, better than Nick Sirianni.
Always got to keep your head.
Her first train ride going to this job, and a woman fell off the train. And they had to stop the train, bring in the investigator, and everybody get off the train.
My God.
I mean, my gosh. So you'll catch it on Action
News.
News.
On the news.
You'll catch it on Action News tonight. Hey, Carlos joins us. Carlos, good morning. You're on the Fanatic.
I don't know when my name turned into Carlos, but this is Grant from Media.
Oh, I'm sorry, Graf. I hit the wrong button. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, it's all good. I like the name Carlos. That's a good name.
It is a great name.
Hey, Pat, I got a question for you. Name that movie. What's that smell? It's poop again.
I have no idea.
Oh, dude, Billy Madison, bro. When they like to poop on fire.
Oh, yes, okay.
I didn't hear that it's poop again, but I apologize.
My apologies.
No. We're friends
done
here.
A better job.
All right,
We're
let's
friends
get to
here.
the Eagles.
Well, regardless, Nick Sirianni's just walking around pooping on flowers again, dude. I don't get it. It's ridiculous, man. To me, it's like when you tell me you don't know what to do against the blitz. Like I thought I had an idea growing up as a kid where you run the football, right? Don't you run the ball at the blitz? Like, don't you run it down their throat?
Yep.
Come over the line. I'm gonna fall forward every single time. That's the idea, right?
That's what you're supposed to do.
What? Why on earth are you incapable of running the football? Not only does running the football help you against the blitz, but you know what else it does? It controls the clock. It keeps that defense off the field. Like this guy, this entire team's premise. Jalen Hurts last year. I remember last year there were some struggles, and the conversation always was this offense only works when you're running the football. If you get a good run game going, Jalen Hurts is able to expand his offense because he can do a whole lot more because you have to worry about him running, you have to worry about the running back getting the ball out of the backfield, and then you have to worry about him going downfield. None of that happens. There's no uniqueness to this team. We talk about
none at all.
No pre-snap, nothing. John, they're about to go into Tampa Bay, and they're about to get blitzed to high heaven, right? And
yep.
I'm going to tell you right now, if they don't run the football, it's going to be the ugliest football game we've seen in a very long time in this city.
Graf, we'll hear from you next Tuesday.
Wow,
I'm sure.
an ugliest game we've seen in a long time in this city. I thought the last
Tampa?
2 games were fighting each other for that honor.
And it's Tampa.
Yeah.
That's the scary part.
You know, it goes back to like, all right, we were little kids, and I forget the name of the game, the football game, the electronic football game you play.
Coleco
Everybody, it was
in
you
our
go
hands.
against. No, this was like computer science. I don't know what it was, but you're going against somebody running a defense. You're running an offense. Everybody on offense likes to either throw the bomb, and everybody on defense wants to blitz. Right when you're playing this game. So how did you beat the blitz all the time? You called a draw play, and you would go for 50 yards every time. Blitz, draw play. Blitz, draw play. You have everybody coming upfield. Delay for a half a second, hand the ball off to your running back. He picks his holes. Once, did you see yesterday? Once?
No.
Okay.
No, not it. So, hey, Michael joins us. Michael, you're on the Fanatic. Good morning. Mike, we can't hear you. Put you on hold. Are you on speaker?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now we got you. There you go, buddy.
Oh, okay. You guys know I'm always going to throw analytics at you. So here's some analytics. We are first in shotgun, last in under center snaps.
Yep.
This throws the offense off. Why? Because when we do play action, our play action is not believable. Jalen Hurts is staring right at linebackers. Linebackers know that it's not a run. So the middle of the field is always covered. So we are in the bottom 5 in the NFL and throwing the ball over the middle of the field.
Hey, I got another one for you, Michael. Shane Half had this one just a week ago. You know how many times they've attempted a pass from under center this year? It was
Probably
one.
What?
Once.
Guys,
So nobody believes it.
Now this makes the run hard. So you have to run inside zone because you're in shotgun all the time. That just makes sense to run inside zone. So we are the number 1 team in running inside zone. You know why that sucks? Inside zone is the least productive run out of all runs in the NFL. Outside zone, we can't do. Why? Because the angles just don't work from shotgun. It's just not realistic, right? The cutback lane is not there to run outside zone. So what does that do? It makes our offense stagnant. What else makes our offense stagnant? We don't run pre-snap motion. We don't create space. We don't give Jalen Hurts an idea of whether it's man or zone. We don't expand the blitz. Sometimes by moving someone before the snap, you get to see, this guy's blitzing. Oh, this guy can't blitz anymore. He has to cover. So our offense is literally coaching malpractice. We heard from everybody how much talent is on this team. With that much talent on this team, you can't pick up consecutive first downs?
I can't understand and appreciate you, Michael, when you watch Dallas, watch Detroit, watch San Francisco, watch Indianapolis the other night, even watch Houston. And just watch and see the Eagles' offense, and the Eagles' offense looks like high school. Looks like high school football compared to them. And I'm not talking about the talent on it. I'm talking about the approach. It just seems so rudimentary.
It's horrible. And, last year when we were out in Las Vegas, or 2 years ago, I'm sorry, we were out in Las Vegas, and the team was 2-4 at the time, and they made a change to the offense. And Jalen Hurts started going under center, much like he was just talking about, and handing the ball off. And we all looked at each other like, oh, my God, look at this new wrinkle. Miles Sanders is getting the ball from a quarterback that was under center, and he's getting like 4, 5, 6 yards a chunk. And he was doing really well. And then he got hurt. And then the Eagles went to the pass game, and that game fell apart. But they fell to 2-5, and then maybe it was a suggestion by Steichen to Sirianni to get under center. And then he said, well, you call the plays. And then we saw what happened there.
It worked.
Is there not suggestions being made to Brian Johnson? Does Nick Sirianni poke his head into the offensive meetings throughout the week and say, like, yeah, I see those 8 plays that you have. Is there anything more than that?
Yeah, do we have anything? What's going on here?
4 of them don't ever work. Like, that bubble screen thing never works. This one play you have at the bottom of the list, that slant to A.J. Brown, that works a lot. Why don't you move that up on the list to, like, one of the top 8s? And I don't know. I don't know what goes on with this team. I do. I'll go back to what I said at the beginning of the show. My blame on this, as much as it goes on the players, and I don't think they're performing, more of it to me goes on the coaching staff.
Hey, Carlos, I'm sorry I missed you last time. Carlos joins us on The Fanatic. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. How you guys doing?
Good, buddy.
Well, I think if you really have played sports at a high level and you've experienced a situation where the players have lost faith in the coach, so any of your listeners who have been in that situation, I was in that situation once that happens, it's impossible, no matter how professional you are, no matter how serious you are, it's impossible to go in to a game and be your best, because in your mind, in the front of your mind, not the back of your mind, but in the forefront of your mind, all you're thinking about is how are my coaches going to screw this up today? And it's patently obvious that the players somewhere, and no one's going to say it because they're all professionals, and that's the Philadelphia organization. They're very tight-lipped, but it's patently obvious that there's some major problems in the locker room, and it has to do with the coaching.
And we just don't know, as you say, we just don't know it yet, Carlos, and that's the problem. We have no explanation as to what the problem is. And, Pat, it haunted me all damn weekend because of you. The whole idea that I know the Jeff McClain piece is going to come, and it's just a matter of when I get to read it.
Unfortunately, yeah. I mean, my
At the
fear
end of this
is
year.
it drops the week before the Super Bowl because there's that dead period where nothing's really going on. But it's coming. I mean, people will talk, especially, some of these vets that might be retiring. What do they care at that point? Why wouldn't they talk? I mean, they came back, and they didn't come back for this. They came back to win a Super Bowl.
And I say to those vets, though, I don't think those vets are playing that well.
They're not. I mean, it's a chicken and egg thing. Like, are they not playing well because they're not motivated, or are they not motivated because they're put in a position to not succeed by the coaching staff that doesn't seem to have a clue?
I got to tell you, if I'm a Jason Kelsey, Lane Johnson, standing on the sideline yesterday, and the Giants get the ball first, and the first play they run, I see that my defensive coordinator is dropping back our best rusher into coverage and then into the middle of nowhere, and they totally exploit it and get 18 yards on the first play. I don't care how pumped you are, great of a teammate, leader you are. That brings a sigh to me and my shoulder shrug like, oh, my God, what is going on here? It's that bad.
It's nuts to me.
It's that bad.
It doesn't make any sense. I mean, it's really, really strange. We got lots of people that want to get in on this. You've had a chance to speak today and get it off your chest. What's the next steps? We'll talk about some of those as it's a week away. Next Monday, this game will not even have been played yet between the Bucks and the Eagles. But there is a silver lining.
Does your confidence level, as we've been doing this show, talking about what the Eagles did yesterday, does your confidence level go up, stay the same, go down?
It's gone down.
As far as next week against Tampa Bay?
No, it's gone down.
Tampa Bay scored 11 points on average in their last 2 games. Baker Mayfield hasn't,
he's
looked
all banged
great.
up. He's really
banged up. I mean, that's a place that you've already won.
Yeah, for me, that's why it's exactly why it's the same. I entered the day thinking they were going to win against Tampa. It hasn't changed one way or the other. It hasn't gone up, hasn't gone down. But I think they're going to win because they're playing a team that's banged up and isn't all that good. I mean, I watched most of that Tampa game yesterday.
They were terrible.
They're not a good football team.
Hey, get in with us.
The green and white team isn't good either.
No, they're not. But I think they're better.
Get in with us now at 610-632-0975. Your last chance. And then Andrew Salchunas will have you all going this morning. I'm sure he's got a lot of positivity to come your way. I'm telling you, he's looking for it right now. Plus, best show ever has Tim McManus in studio today at 4 o'clock for the entire hour. So you're going to want to be part of it. Just stay with The Fanatic all day long. Download the app. Be with us. Go to 975thefanatic.com. It's the John Kincade Show here on The Fanatic.
Hey, as good as the regular season is, there's nothing like NFL Super Wild.
Walking by as he's preparing for his show coming up today at 10. Bob, what I hate about these kind of weeks is that there's no off-ramp. When it's Eagles playoffs, this whole city is going to be entrenched in talking about the Eagles playoffs. But right now, there's no off-ramp from the negativity that they've provided to this storyline that allows you to go, okay, well, look, things are looking bad, but. And I go back to what you said when the Eagles were 10-1. It was a but season. Yeah, but it, you know what? There is no but right now to where they're playing. They're not giving you any other option than to be like frustrated. And this is when I don't prefer doing this as much fun when there's not even there's no counter argument. There's no counterpoint.
No. You're not looking at this team and having a hot take of, well, yeah, they're winning, but was it hot takey at 10-1? A little bit. If you're saying
I
like,
bought into it.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. To say like, oh, this team is going nowhere. You could say, yeah, they're 10-1. It's that, yeah, but they're not playing well, and I don't think they're going to go very far. But yeah, that 10-1 going against you. No, now losers of what, 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 6? 5 out of 6. I said it, and I'm standing by it. I don't think they're going to Tampa Bay and winning that game on Monday. I don't think they could go anywhere in the NFL, save maybe, I don't know, Carolina or something.
Maybe.
I don't think they can go anywhere and win a game right now. I just don't.
Pat, the thing is, and I know you don't prefer where you're sitting right now, but I think you and I are in the same boat. I still don't know whether I think they have going to win next week, but I'm leaning towards that they would. But to me, it's hollow. And I think your whole point of it's the least
enjoyable playoff team I've ever witnessed.
And that's amazing. So you're going on, like, think of some other, I was trying to think of some other Philly sports teams that made the postseason that maybe you would say, okay, well, that team was pretty, but I can't. Because any team with expectations.
That's the thing. You got to factor in the expectations going into the season. And the expectations for this team were Super Bowl. I mean, you can, on the surface, you go, okay, there's, I could point to a bunch of Sixers playoff teams that weren't going to do anything. But exactly, like, you knew that they weren't going to do anything. You didn't expect the Thad Young-led Sixers to do anything in the playoffs. This Sixers team, or this Eagles team, I mean, you expected so much more. You expected the number 1 seed, and for a while it was looking like that was going to happen. And their epic collapse and choke job has led to, even before that, it wasn't an enjoyable product to watch.
No, it wasn't.
It was gross. And I thought it was gross until I watched the last couple of weeks, and that's really gross.
I think it's been worse the last 2 weeks.
Absolutely. Like, it's been bad football. It's been a high school-ish offense and a high school-ish defense. And, I think they win, but only because I think their opponent's brutal. But as Bob laid out, the Eagles aren't much better right now.
There's nothing I can wrap my hands around right now with this football team and say, okay, they could probably ride that to a win down in Tampa Bay. What am I looking at? The running game? Well, no, they won't commit to it. Am I looking at the passing game? No, A.J. Brown is hurt now, and Smith is hurt, and Jalen Hurts hasn't been very good. Am I looking at the offensive line? They couldn't pick up blitzes yesterday against a 5-11 New York Giants team. Do I go to the defensive side of the ball and think something there's going to win me?
No.
Do I go special teams and hope that maybe the defense can get a stop and Britton Covey can get you a return or something? Like, there's just nothing I can wrap my hand. It's like a thing of water, and I'm trying to pick it up with my hands. Like, you can't pick water up with your hands. It falls right through. Well, everything about this Eagles team right now falls right through. I cannot put my hands around anything that leads me to believe they're going to go down there and win on Monday.
610-632-0975. Carlos in North Philly joins us. Carlos, good morning.
Gentlemen, good morning. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yeah, great to have you on.
Yeah, we got to let Nick Sirianni go, man. I lost faith in this team a long time ago, and it wasn't because of a loss. It was actually because of what the man said with a straight face after the game and said, we're running the same offense as last year. I said, we're done.
No, I'm done on that, too. That's not good.
I'm done. I can't. We actually let go of the guy that actually had our offense running right last year, and that was Sean Steichen.
Well, no, they didn't let him go. He went for a head coaching job.
Which is true. I understand that.
You can't keep him. You can't keep him. He's not going to stay here and be when he has a chance to run his own team.
That's true. But I Man, if there was a way, I would have let Nick Sirianni go with it in a heartbeat. He's too incompetent. He's a cheerleader with a clipboard.
Well, the only thing is, though, Carlos, is that, look, they just went to the Super Bowl. And I had people yesterday, I was going back and forth with a couple of people on social media, the idea that, I've been out on Nick Sirianni. I never had any faith in him. And I said, the Super Bowl was tied with a minute to go. You had no faith in him? Stop. There was some point, if you didn't have faith in Nick Sirianni last year, you were foolish. You're flat out foolish. Now this year, if you tell me you've lost faith in him, I totally get it. I think I'm right there with you. But people are like, this is what I always told you Sirianni was. BS.
No, yeah, there was nobody when after 37, after he went 2-5, in the next 37 games, he went 31-6. Like, you can make the arguments all you want. Hurts really isn't that quarterback. Sirianni isn't that kind of coach. Okay, but there was something that allowed you to go 31-6 over a 37-game period, and they were big parts of it. You're talking about a head coach and a starting quarterback. So the fall is maybe more of what they really are. I don't know, but there's reason to question now. There is. There just is. Now, Sirianni does have in his back pocket that he was at one time 31-6, and did take a team in the Super Bowl to the Super Bowl his second year. But that's kind of drifting away a little bit now too.
Okay, so Marty wants this question answered by all of us. Pat, I'll go to you first. If Nick Sirianni was fired by the Philadelphia Eagles after a wild card playoff loss, do you think he'd get a head coaching job?
In a heartbeat. Yeah, in about 5 minutes.
What do you think, Bob?
I don't know about heartbeat. And here's why I say, Pat, I said this before when he has his sideline antics towards Indianapolis fans and take that Kansas City and all that rubs people the wrong way. And
it does.
Look, nobody's going to put that before bringing in a head coach they think can turn their program around. Do people have that feeling of him now? Now, on the positive side, yes, he went to a Super Bowl just last year. That's a big thing to have on your resume. I don't know. I wouldn't say in a heartbeat. I would say probably.
I would say yes, only because I think with all the antics you talk about, he is a guy that universally people go, I can't stand him, but I'd probably love him if he was our head coach.
That is a point that I believe if he was, I think you said it last week, if he was the Giants coach, we would absolutely hate him. He'd be like public enemy number one.
Absolutely. But look, he sat in a meeting with Jeffrey Lurie and convinced him to be the guy, and then proceeded to go to a Super Bowl. And I think a lot of times, the owners and GMs, they can get completely spellbound by a guy in an interview process. I mean, it happened to Adam Gase twice. Adam Gase was a disaster in Miami, and he convinced the New York Jets to give him a head coaching job right after the fact. Frank Reich is another example of that. Like, he got a head coaching job right after the fact. So, yeah, I think he would absolutely get a head coaching job because coaches that go to a Super Bowl don't always become available.
Marty does say, he goes, John, I completely disagree with you on I don't want retreads as my coordinators. I would absolutely love to have a guy like Ron Rivera running my defense and Frank Reich running my offense. And I would love the fact because Nick Sirianni would have two adults in the room who've been head coaches who can help him through some of the bumps in the road.
I hear you on that one. I'm not. Ron Rivera does not excite me a little bit.
As
so
a
I don't
DC
think,
even?
No, I don't think I'd go there. But I hear what you're saying. It's absolutely
somebody
with the
to lean on.
Veteran voice in the room. Look, he leaned on somebody after going 2-5, and look how well that did him.
That's
on the
one
offensive side of the ball. Yeah,
that's one of the reasons I told Marty I do not think he'd get a head coaching job. I think the whole turning the offense over to Shane Steichen and saying he wasn't good at it, play calling, and the fact that he didn't dig this team in any way out of a hole and it just became a bigger hole, I think is going to play against him. I think people are going to look at him and go, dude, what happened? You let that thing spiral completely out of control, and they have one of the most talented offensive units in the NFL. And I said to people the other night watching the Colts game, discussing with some folks on social during the game, watching the Colts, and I said, how many players, Jonathan Taylor taken out, how many players on the Colts offense could play for the Eagles? And if you watch the Colts offense, it's interesting. It's different. It's not the greatest in the whole world.
Nah, they had a bad day on Saturday.
They averaged 3/4 of a point less than the Eagles this year.
Yeah.
And they maybe have 3 guys out of 11 who could start in the Eagles. And Shane Steichen managed to get within a point of what the Eagles offense produced this year. That's where I tell you stats can lie. As far as like for Brian Johnson, stats can lie. What would Shane Steichen do with this talent? I mean, he was. I can't believe the way that went down the other night too. The end of that game. There's no way I don't have Jonathan Taylor on the field for the biggest play of the year.
Yeah, they said that was the package, and the play was there. Play was there.
It was
a little bit of a bad throw. Guy probably could have caught it. But, yeah, them going 0 for 9, the Colts going 0 for 9 on third down throughout the game.
Terrible.
Up until, like, early the fourth quarter. That wasn't good.
I think that they need to, on that last play with Minshew Mania, he rushed the throw.
He did. The
man's open. He could have let him and just take a little off the throw and just lead him. That should have been in there, and they would have had a chance to – they would have had a chance to do it. So it's just, I look at people and go, they're doing so much more with less. They're doing so much more with less talent across the board. You have an all-pro offensive line, 3 starters, one second team, and you're getting that out of it. It just and the lack of commitment to the run to me is all ego. It's absolutely ego.
God, play design is so horrible. And we're going to see more of it today. We'll see the experts today with the All-22 looking at, all right, look where the Eagles are here. And what you're going to see is Jalen Hurts going back and 3-4 receivers running for a long time without any real game plan of where am I going with this against a blitz-happy team. That's what I can't stand.
It's a blitz-happy team.
I was walking into the bar yesterday to do our show, and a nun came walking by me on Main Street in Phoenixville, and she says, "Oh, I had an Eagles." She says, "Oh, do you follow football?" I said, "Yeah." Do you? She goes, "No, not really, but I know the Giants blitz a lot."
Oh, that's good, sister.
She knew it, but you couldn't come up with some kind of a quick passing game, Brian Johnson, Nick Sirianni, or Jalen Hurts making calls at the line of scrimmage to get away from that blitz that easily. I don't know. I should have had sister call in.
You weren't on a nun's watch list from your, but you were a good kid in class.
Oh yeah. All the nuns liked me.
You were a good kid.
Yeah, I was. I wasn't a problem at all.
Pat, it's amazing that Bob was the kid who was good in class. I know that sometimes you and I were not.
No, I wasn't really well.
I think we're on a nun's watch list. Because I swear when I meet one of the fine nuns, as an adult now, I think that they almost look at me cross-eyed like they know they've read the files. They know.
I had an aunt that was a nun and was in the same grouping as the nuns that taught me. So
you'd always hear it.
I kind of knew better that I thought that if I got out of line, word was going to get back to my Aunt Dolly. And I didn't want that to happen.
Hey, the 9 a.m. hour is brought to you by our friends at the Bagster. And we want you to know that every football Monday in the Fanatic is always presented by Pierce Phelps Bryant Heating and Air Conditioning Contractors. Man, they do a great job. Visit nopaybryant.com. They'll give you flexible spending options on a new heating and cooling system. So where do we where do we go from here? Because honestly, is that and Steve sends along here a DM and says, "Where are we going? Where are we going for the next week?"
Well, you're going to go to Tampa on like Saturday or Sunday.
He says, "Where do we find any avenue of positivity?" And I was talking to some of the sales guys during the last break, and I said, "The problem with this argument is there's no off ramp. The Eagles have given us no off ramp. There's no point toward positivity." He also asked a question. Why was DeAndre Swift not playing yesterday?
Illness.
Was it illness?
That's what the report that we got was, illness.
He wondered, Pat, if it was your turf that you've referenced.
Probably something to do with it, yeah.
He was sick of playing on that turf.
That he was more along the lines of that they just didn't want to risk him on that turf.
Yeah, I would probably do the same thing.
I'll tell you what, I said all week, and I still believed it up until we went into the pregame show yesterday, that I was like, look, balls to the wall game. Tell all your starters, here we go. We're going to play hard. Even if you have in the back of your mind, Nick Sirianni and company, that you're going to keep an eye on the scoreboard or somebody's going to tell you whatever. But I wanted to convince the team all week that here we go. And then driving to pregame yesterday, I thought to myself with DeAndre Swift, and I didn't know the news yet, I thought, you know what, that might be a guy that I sit and say, you still have 3 other running backs that you can go with, Gainwell, Scott, and Penny, and you can still like just keep rotating them in and out. So maybe that's a guy that I would hold back. They did, but they didn't really run. They ran Boston Scott 3 times and Penny 6.
Tito says that the Eagles took out a lot of their starters when it was 14-10. Dallas was leading Washington 14-10. He said so much for the scoreboard watching. I mean, that game was at the time. Now, in retrospect, we all have that opportunity to be able to say, yeah, looking back at it, it was good decisions and everything. But at one time, that game was very, very tight, and they pulled their starters when it was 14-10. He said Kelsey was out of the game. Lane Johnson was out of the game. And other guys that were critical to any chance they had success. And the game was 14-10. He said, I wanted to turn it off at that point, and I did in the third quarter.
Well, all right, so it was 14-10 in the Cowboys game. What was it in the Eagles game?
It was, at the time, it was 17-0. 17-0, he points out. So they said 17-0. So, in other words, they gave up on themselves before they gave up on Washington.
Sure.
That to me that's so aggravating.
It's where we are.
It is. It's where we are right now. If you want to get in, we finally have a few openings for you at 610-632-0975. So we'll be watching. I wonder with the there's at least an extra day of preparation is one way you look at it. But if they somehow manage to get past where they were, they will have the short week next week. And Pat, it plays to what you were arguing about earlier, the idea that, we're getting screwed here again.
Oh, yeah, through that entire gauntlet, it was, you're either on a short week or you're facing a team that's had a stretch of games or days where they haven't played because, they played on Thursday night, so they've had a long layoff, or they were coming off a bye. Or it was all of it. It was like you were coming off a short week and the team was coming off of a long layoff. And I'm not saying that's the reason why the Eagles struggled in that stretch. And I'm not saying it's the reason why the Eagles would get hammered against San Francisco. It just sucks. Like, it's just a bad situation. And the NFL doesn't care.
And it's funny. People are getting on us a little bit like, oh, boy, here come the excuses about the schedule. It's not excuses. When they were winning, we were still saying, like, wow, this schedule is brutal.
Yeah, I mean, Fletcher Cox told you the same thing. When he joined us the show before Thanksgiving, I think it was, he said, he's like, I'm not happy about it. Why would they be?
They already set a NFL record with 4 Monday Night Football games on the road. I mean, seriously, it's not. There is a difference between an excuse and a reason.
Yeah, well, people
this
hear
is
that,
a reason,
and they just jump to, it's an excuse. Well, I don't understand why both can't be true. Why can I be mad about this crappy schedule and be mad that the team just sucks right now? I can be mad at both.
Nobody has played 4 road games on Monday Night Football. Nobody has ever played 5 Monday Night Football games in one calendar season. The Eagles will. That's absolutely part of the equation here. That's something that just sucks. But then again, they're playing like I do believe, I go back to it and I'll stick with it. I believe the 49ers. I really do.
I think the 49ers knocked them out. I think Buffalo totally put them up against the ropes and had them punch drunk, and San Francisco came in and said, whoa, and knocked them the hell out.
The thing is, though, is that what they did is they lost their confidence when they played the San Francisco 49ers. They lost swag. They lost bravado. They had none of it. At that point, they're just a team because they were exposed and they had one chance to change it. The Dallas game. That was like the one chance to say, no. We are still who you think we are. We're going to get this straightened out. And then they went to Dallas and wet the bed. And at that point, then you go to the Seattle game. And again, it's mind-boggling. It even aggravates me more this week that Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown went behind the microphones after the Seattle game and didn't take responsibility for their audible. That they covered that up, didn't say anything, and then 2 weeks later, we still wouldn't know about it from the captain, from the quarterback, Jalen Hurts. The only reason we know about it is because A.J. Brown told the truth. Oh, yeah, we went rogue on that. Because Brian Johnson took the heat for it. Nick Sirianni took the public heat for it. when in reality, these guys knew what the answer was. And if you can tell us 2 weeks later, you can tell us the night of the game. You can say, yeah, we went rogue. We did something different, and it didn't work out.
I'm looking for this team to change the play and like change how they're playing football and change. So like admitting to something or whatever, I don't know if that would have changed anything. You know what I mean? That doesn't change how they're playing. It doesn't. Jalen Hurts came out and said, I have to play to a better standard.
Which
Like I
is
said,
ridiculous.
under the umbrella of that, probably in his mind was, I should have made a better decision there than as opposed to going to A.J. Brown deep sideline. That stuff, I don't know. It's not going to make them a better football team if they come out right after a game and say, yeah, I shouldn't have changed the play, as opposed to somebody else doing it 2 weeks later.
Yeah, I mean, but if you can admit it 2 weeks later, you can admit it then. If it's enough that you can say, hey, I'm taking responsibility for this. This is something that we did.
Well, did you hear what Nick Sirianni said last week? He said it on Friday, so we didn't get a chance
about
to
them
talk
getting
to
that they do this often.
Yeah,
but now it's
Jalen Hurts is. I know, John. I know it was a bad decision, but the point being, what we talked about before, we said I said to you guys, I bet you it happens a lot more than we know, and that was a chance that they said maybe it works well, and that one didn't. And after the game, he said, "Yeah, why'd you think that?" He goes, "I thought I had it, I didn't. Stupid play on my part." They probably let it go, flush it.
Situational awareness, though, is everything. And
it is, no question.
You can. I mean, and you can't just flush that, though. You can't just flush that decision because it was so egregious in retrospect.
Yeah, these are professionals. So everything is talked about, everything is done. They know it. Like, yeah, a high school kid, are you going to pound into his head? I tell you what to do, you got to do it. You're making the wrong decision. A professional that maybe from what Sirianni said, that he does it a lot and he does it really, really well a lot. After the game, if I go up to him and we're professionals.
Right.
And I said, Jay, what was that? He goes, yeah, AJ came over, said he had him beat. I should have gone to the other one, but I thought we had it there. I thought we could win the game right there. If I'm Nick Sirianni after a Super Bowl appearance, after starting the season 10-1, all that, I might just be like, okay, all right, probably situationally should have done the other thing, but all right, I hear you. I hear what you said.
This team is so poor situationally, and it's one of the reasons why I just go. I mean, right now we're in a very strange situation right now as to where they go, and I don't know what's going to happen as far as where this team goes, and more importantly, I think it's a real problem that you've got a fan base that I believe isn't even in any way inspired about next Monday night.
No, it's funny. We were talking about, where was it? I don't remember who it was or how we heard it. Talking about, Eagles fans, they'll travel to Tampa Bay. And I
said that to you.
No, but I think I was out. So my brother-in-law and I went out on Saturday afternoon to my local bar, and we're talking with a bunch of our friends, And I think it came up there. And I said to the guys, I was like, we talk about how well the team tries. And a lot of these guys are season ticket holders. We say a lot of how great this fan base travels. And I looked at all of them and I said, honest to God, would you lay down $3,000, $2,500 to go to this Tampa game this weekend? Say if it was even fit in your schedule and it was on a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday afternoon. Now, Monday night doesn't fit in anybody's schedule.
I don't know that I don't
None
think
of
I
them
would.
said they were like, no, I'm not spending money to go watch bad football. That's kind of where you are right now. I think as easily as people would be like, yeah, I can't wait to get Tampa good, let's go. I don't know. I'll bet you're struggling to find that many people doing it now.
I guarantee you it's going to be it's trouble.
Yeah, like when you look at Sixers playoff games, the first round of the playoffs, you can get in the building for face, if not below face value for tickets. I mean, I'm talking like $60, $50. You can get into the building and see a Sixers playoff game because the fan base is either not believing that it's real or they're wake me up when it gets to this point. So for the Sixers, it's the second round. For the Eagles, it's either wake me up when they get to a meaningful playoff game that they can win, and San Francisco ain't one of them, or wake me up when it's the Super Bowl. And because of that, I don't think there's going to be a large contingent of Eagles fans at the Tampa game that aren't transplants.
That aren't people that are down there, right?
Yeah. Right. I mean, the people that live there, they'll go for sure because it's cheap. But you're right, Bob, to fork over that much money, even if you do believe in this team, why wouldn't you do it for an NFC Championship game or another playoff game or something? You know what I mean? It's not going to be this.
We got some listeners and some of the even some people who watch every day on YouTube that I know are from down there. because when you guys were down, they were telling us that they were going to see you guys. I wonder if they'll.
I agree with Pat, and I ran into a lot of transplants down there when we were there that live down there. So they'll get that. I believe those guys down there will go to the game.
But the travel from here.
I think it's a tough sell. I do, and God bless the people that do it, Vince.
And it is a hard sell.
Yeah.
Right now. It's a very, very difficult thing. Can you imagine being there yesterday with Philly Sports Trips?
No. No,
seriously.
First of all, it's, horrible day. It's cold. It's kind of windy, a little bit of snowfall, and then maybe a little bit of rain. But those are miserable days. And miserable days you can deal with if you're watching a good product. So you go from miserable day to even a worst Philadelphia Eagle product? Nah, that wouldn't have been fun.
Hey, Greg joins us. Greg, good morning. You're on The Fanatic.
Good morning, fellas. How you guys doing?
Good, Greg. We're doing as well as we can.
I hear you. I got 2 points. One of them is a question for you guys and an opinion, and the other is kind of a statement about the defense.
Sure.
My first thing is I don't want to get ahead of myself. I know there's lots going on, but do you think this whole thing with Jalen Hurts, do you think the scouting reports out? Do you think that them being able to realize, if they could shut his legs down, he becomes a little bit more easier to figure out, so to say?
Greg, I think you're onto something. I think you're onto something.
They're blitzing him. He can't get out of the pocket, and I know his knee had a little bit to do with it. But even when they have the design QB draws, I know they're bad play calls, but he just doesn't seem to be able to get that extra little bit that teams are afraid of anymore. And I just feel like it's really like shutting them down a lot more than it did previously.
Greg, I'll agree with you that some of that goes on Hurts. No question about it. Decision-making hasn't been great. There's been stuff open that he hasn't gone for. But I also have to go to play design and play calling. I think they're all tied together.
Okay, I understand. And then I know you guys got to go. Real quick about the defense. I know this might be a little naive, too, but I watched the film on the Arizona game. I know we just played the Giants, but specifically Leonard, our linebackers, they're just so soft. They have no anger to them. They don't want to punish anybody, and I don't mean hurt anybody, but they just don't have that edge like that you see the top linebackers have in the league. And I know we don't invest in them, but you got to find somebody that maybe, like, so to say, off the street that has that dog in them. Because
they don't. They seem like there seems to be they're low energy, to say the least.
Yeah.
And Shaq Leonard does not have it.
No, and when you're doubting yourself, it's hard to be like he was asking for, that dog, that hitter. It's hard to be that. How do you do that? Because you're confident of where you're going to be. You know you're going to get there on time, therefore you can really concentrate on making a really hard hit. Right now, it's a scheme of, am I supposed to be there? Wait, let me get there, and then try to make a tackle. You can't level somebody if you're not confident about where you're going to be.
No, absolutely not. I mean, and you got to run through people.
Yeah.
Which is the problem. And they just don't do enough of that. It has been, do you feel like it was cathartic this morning at all, Pat?
No. But I appreciate you trying.
I don't either. No, I didn't even try. I just wanted people to lead the conversation and see if we could get anybody. And I am surprised. We did not find one person trying to sell us on you guys. You're not, you're being negative. There still is a chance. Not one.
No.
Maybe we'll find them later in the week. You never know. We're going to have a long way to go till next Monday night.
Tell me a reason to be positive, and we will be. There ain't none right now.
Believe me. We'll have plenty more as we get ready for the Eagles' postseason game against Tampa Bay, and then look ahead to what could potentially be on the horizon from then. Hey, support life-saving cancer research. Join us and our generous partner, the Davis CPA Group, Ron Davis and his whole crew, and make a donation to the American Association for Cancer Research. You can do it at 975thefanatic.com/AACR because cancer research saves lives. Thanks for being with us today. Great job, Brendan and Haley. We appreciate you very much. And remember, Andrew Salchunas has got you. Then the best show ever will take you at 2 o'clock. And then at 4 o'clock, Tim McManus is in studio for